Technological divergence from the Type 59. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 201, Surrender to the Power of Saudi Arabia's Money in the Camel Region. Fuel air bombs and their subsequent upgraded solid explosive counterparts can be described as universal bombs. They are the most powerful conventional weapons. Their destructive power is so immense that no living creature can escape their blast radius. The high temperatures and lack of oxygen generated by the primary explosion render life inescapable. Even if one survives the blast, the lack of oxygen cannot. Fuel air and thermobaric bombs consume vast quantities of oxygen in the instant of detonation. The primary charge of a fuel air bomb is a fuel air explosive, also known as a fuel air explosive. Fuel air explosives are high energy fuels, not explosives. The destructive effect of a cloud explosion on a target is primarily due to the overpressure and temperature field effects generated by the detonation, as well as the scouring effect of the high temperature, high pressure detonation products. Early fuel air explosives can be divided into two detonations during their detonation process. The first detonation disperses the fuel contained in the container, mixing it with air, to form an aerosol cloud. The second detonation detonates the cloud, creating the explosive effect. This is why fuel air bombs are called conventional subnuclear bombs and universal bombs. After 3 days of discussion, the top military officials of Yan state finally surrendered to the powerful money power of Saudi Arabia in the Luocho region, and sent a professional team to the 077 mechanical arsenal to negotiate with the Saudi Arabian representatives. The military representatives of Yan state, led by Mr. Wei, came to the 077 mechanical arsenal, and were welcomed by Lin Chenran and other high-level officials. Mr. Wei informed Lin Chenran in advance not to tell the Saudi Arabian representatives in the Luocho region that they were coming. Mr. Wei has something to say to Lin Chenran. The office of the director of the 077 mechanical arsenal in Linjiang province. What? Your military is asking for my opinion? Lin Chenran was very surprised and speechless. Lin Chenran, you have all made up your mind. Can my opinion change your mind? Of course, this is just Lin Chenran's inner thoughts. Mr. Wei, I support the sale of medium-range ballistic missiles to Saudi Arabia in the Luocho region. You're a fool not to make money. The power of medium-range ballistic missiles is quite good. But without nuclear warheads, Yan state is not panicking at all. Furthermore, increasing the number of Yan nation weapons in the hands of Saudi Arabia in the Camel region could have a greater impact on a country. This could then help wrest the major financial backers from the hands of the Eagle source. This would boost the development of Yan nation's military industry as a whole. After all, with major financial backers backing them, the weapons and equipment produced by Yan nation's military enterprises could be sold to a greater or lesser extent. This would allow the entire Yan nation military industry to flourish. It's mainly due to the Saudi Arabian government's financial power in the Camel region. Elder Wei smiled helplessly. Lin Chenran covered his mouth and smiled broadly. Elder Wei, there's nothing wrong with this. You still have to make money, and sometimes you need to put your pride aside to make money. Elder Wei nodded repeatedly, agreeing with Lin Chenran's statement. Making money is not shameful. Then, with a puzzled look on his face, Elder Wei asked, you kid, you don't sell weapons and equipment to Saudi Arabia in the Camel region. It's not like you. It's not in Lin Chenran's character to only let the Yan nation military reap huge profits and then take a piece of the pie. Huh. The one who knows me best is Elder Wei. Lin Chenran was embarrassed at first, then praised him. Tell me, boy, what weapons and equipment are you trying to sell to the Saudis in the Camel region? Elder Wei scolded, his curiosity piqued. Just fuel air explosives. Lin Chenran replied with a casual air. What? The 077 mechanical arsenal can produce fuel air explosives? Really? You're kidding. Elder Wei stared at Lin Chenran in disbelief, his face utterly astonished. He knew all about the famous fuel air explosives. In 1975, the Eagles dropped over 100 fuel air explosives on the Monkey Kingdom, causing a devastating impact. There's even a specimen of a fuel air explosive in the Monkey Kingdom. Over 100 fuel air explosives exploded, enveloping the entire bombing area in a cloud of white mist. Those on the ground, caught in the bombing, were caught in the blast before they could even react. Suddenly, thunder roared, and the earth shook. After the explosion, the buildings in the entire bombing area were shattered, with broken walls and shattered structures. The people in the bombing area were scorched, or had their mouths wide open, and some scratched their throats. This directly allowed the top leaders of Yan State to see the power of fuel air explosives. The top leaders of Yan State also secretly established a secret project for fuel air explosives. However, due to the high confidentiality of fuel air explosives by the United States and Russia, Yan State was unable to obtain relevant information. Due to the reform and opening up in China, everything gave way to the economy. The fuel air explosive project was also shelved. And now Lin Chenran actually said that their 077 mechanical military factory could develop fuel air explosives. How could this not surprise old Wendy? Lin Chenran showed a meaningful smile and said, "It's just a fuel air explosive, no big deal." Old Wendy smiled instantly when he heard this 077 mechanical military factory has fuel air explosives, which means Yan State has fuel air explosives. Then old Wendy reacted and frowned. 077 mechanical military factory is going to sell fuel air explosives to Saudi Arabia in the Camel area. How could such a high destructive weapon be sold? But then he thought, the military will provide the Saudi kingdom in the Camel region with medium-range ballistic missiles and a nuclear warhead. Could fuel air explosives replace nuclear warheads and be traded with the Saudi kingdom in the Camel region? Seeing Elder Wendy's expression, Lin Chenran guessed what he was thinking. Elder Wendy, although fuel air explosives are called subnuclear bombs and can produce mushroom clouds, they are far from real nuclear bombs. Lin Chenran shook his head, rejecting Elder Wendy's idea. A fuel air explosive is a fuel air explosive. A nuclear bomb is a nuclear bomb. The deterrent power of the two is different. The Saudi kingdom in the Camel region wants to possess a nuclear warhead, even if it is only one. The deterrent power is enormous. If other countries in the Camel region want to use force against Saudi Arabia, their top leaders need to consider the other party's nuclear warheads. The deterrent power is amazing. In fact, the Saudi kingdom in the Camel region wants this deterrent power. After receiving Lin Chenran's notice, Abdul of the Saudi kingdom in the Camel region and members of the delegation arrived at the 077 mechanical arsenal in a fleet of Rolls Royces. The Saudi representatives from the Camel region were smiling. Since the Yan country military agreed to negotiate with them, there would be a chance to obtain medium-range ballistic missiles from them, and possibly even nuclear warheads. The Saudi representatives from the Camel region who came to the 077 mechanical arsenal were warmly welcomed by Lin Chenran. As an intermediary, Lin Chenran coordinated the negotiations between the Yan country military and the Camel region representatives. Everyone came to the conference room of the 077 mechanical arsenal, talking and laughing. The smiles at this time seemed to be a precursor to a storm. After everyone arrived at the conference room, negotiations on medium-range ballistic missiles and nuclear warheads officially began. Lin Chenran, the protagonist, began to speak. Abdul, the military agrees to sell medium-range ballistic missiles to your Saudi country. But, the Saudi representatives from the Camel region smiled when they heard the former. Chapter 202 A nuclear warhead. Really? Abdul's eyes widened in disbelief, his voice trembling slightly. Great. The other members of the delegation also cheered, their faces filled with joy and excitement. Thank you to the Yan State military for supporting our Camel region, Saudi Arabia, Abdul said excitedly, his eyes flashing with gratitude. The representatives of the Camel region, Saudi Arabia praised Yan State again and again, and their gratitude to Yan State was beyond words. For the Camel region, Saudi Arabia, being able to get the support of Yan State means that they will have more confidence to safeguard the interests and security of the country. Especially with medium-range ballistic missiles, it can make them feel more confident. And then, what Elder Wendy said next will make their mood plummet from the clouds to the bottom of the valley. Elder Wendy smiled and took over Lin Chenran's words and continued. Medium-range ballistic missiles can be sold to you Camel region, Saudi Arabia, but nuclear warheads cannot be sold. Hearing this, the smiles on Abdul and others' faces froze, and their eyes were filled with disappointment and confusion. As you know, we, Yan, have joined the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. If we sell nuclear warheads to Saudi Arabia in the Camel region, we will face severe sanctions, Elder Wei explained, his tone stern and resolute. Moral condemnation. Targeting by the United States and Russia. These are all issues that the Yan military leaders need to consider. The Camel region itself is a powder keg. The United States and Russia absolutely do not want to see peace in this region, as it is not in their interests. This. Abdul tried to speak, but found his throat blocked, unable to utter a word. Then, another member of the delegation also hesitated, their expressions darkening. The Saudi delegation from the Camel region, led by Abdul, felt as if they were being strangled by an invisible hand, feeling a sense of despair. Elder Wei, if we only purchase intermediate-range ballistic missiles, it will not be enough to meet our country's overall needs. Abdul knew that intermediate-range ballistic missiles alone were far from enough. They needed more powerful weapons to protect their country and its people. He fought to suppress his despair. Saudi Arabia is a peace-loving nation. We won't bully weak nations. However, the instability in the Camel region makes it impossible to guarantee the safety of our people, so we need nuclear warheads to deter other nations. Abdul understood that only with sufficient deterrent power could a nation ensure security and stability. He decided to shift his approach and directly use the interests of his people as an excuse to negotiate with the Yan military. Abdul continued, Mr. Wei, as long as you can sell us medium-range ballistic missiles and nuclear warheads, you can name your price. The sordid generosity in the Camel region made the Yan military representatives present look greedy. It truly was like the richest camel in the world, with just a piece of cloth on their heads. Simply extracting a small amount of oil from the oil fields would yield enormous profits. That. The Yan military representatives began to whisper, discussing this tempting offer. This was a rare opportunity, promising enormous economic benefits. Of course, there was also pressure from international public opinion. Nuclear proliferation was a sensitive topic, one no country dared to tread lightly. Elder Wei signaled to Lin Chenran beside him with his eyes, hoping he would take some action to ease the current tension and prevent the situation from becoming stagnant. Lin Chenran understood Elder Wei's intention immediately. Abdul, Elder Wei, everyone can take a step back. Lin Chenran smiled. As the saying goes, a step back opens up a new world. Abdul, your desire to possess powerful weaponry, to deter other countries in the Camel region and to ensure the safety of your people is completely understandable. Our country has signed the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, and large quantities of nuclear warheads cannot be shipped to Saudi Arabia. England and Russia will not allow us to sell nuclear missile warheads to you. Upon hearing this, the anticipation in Abdul's eyes instantly vanished. But Lin Chenran's next words made Abdul and the other Saudi representatives from the Camel region feel like they had ascended from hell to heaven. Abdul, can you accept a Dongfeng 3 intermediate-range ballistic missile with only one nuclear warhead? Lin Chenran asked tentatively. A hint of doubt flashed in his eyes. If there's only one nuclear warhead, there's still room for maneuver. But beyond that, no matter how large the arms order is, or how expensive it is, we can't take the enormous risk of completing this deal. Upon hearing this, Abdul and the other Saudi representatives from the Camel region began to discuss the matter. Initially, they hadn't considered purchasing all of Yan country's medium-range ballistic missiles equipped with nuclear warheads. It was simply unfeasible. The Saudi representatives from the Camel region also knew that no country in the world would sell such a large number of nuclear warheads. This was a matter of world peace. There was no room for sloppiness. One nuclear warhead? Mr. Wei, is the Yan country military really only able to sell one nuclear warhead? Abdul stared intently at Mr. Wei, demanding an answer. While a single nuclear warhead might be relatively small, it could still have a powerful deterrent effect. Elder Wei slowly replied, if only one nuclear warhead is needed, we in Yan can still proceed. Any more than that, no matter how large the arms sales order, we will reject it. Yan could handle one nuclear warhead. However, a larger number would prevent Yan from secretly transporting it to Saudi Arabia in the Camel region. The United States maintains strict control over the entire Camel region. Previously, under the United States blockade, the Wood Kingdom in the Camel region was unable to obtain weapons and equipment from other countries. If it weren't for the civilian versions of the 077 machinery arsenal, Wood Kingdom would still be invaded by the Lion Kingdom. Only one nuclear warhead. Abdul tapped the table lightly. He was deeply conflicted. Abdul also wanted to secure more nuclear warheads for his country, to deter other countries in the Camel region. However, in reality, this was simply impossible. In previous negotiations between Saudi Arabia and Russia, while Russia could provide a significant number of nuclear warheads, it required numerous conditions. These conditions were unacceptable to Saudi Arabia, leading to the breakdown of the negotiations. Now Yan country only provides one nuclear warhead, with no additional conditions, and only requires payment of the purchase cost. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 203. 35 pieces? For the Swordas in the Camel region, this was a truly exceptional bargain. They only needed to pay a small price to acquire such advanced weaponry. This would undoubtedly significantly enhance their defense capabilities and regional influence, and would also help them better safeguard their national interests and security. Funding wasn't a major issue for the Swordas in the Camel region. As an oil-rich nation, they possessed substantial foreign exchange reserves, easily covering the costs. Mr. Welly, Mr. Lin, this matter is too serious. I can't make the decision alone. Could I contact the government back home and discuss this? Abdul suppressed his inner joy, trying to appear nonchalant, but in reality, he was already beaming with joy. Lin Chenran, standing nearby, noticed the barely concealed smile on Abdul's face, and understood that he had been deeply moved. He immediately glanced at Mr. Welly, who sat across from him. Mr. Welly understood Lin Chenran's intention. Abdul, of course you can communicate with the government back home. However, you should be very aware of the Yan Kingdom's bottom line, Mr. Welly emphasized again. Mr. Welly, I will report this truthfully to my superiors. Abdul thanked him. Afterward, Lin Chenran, along with other representatives from the Yan Kingdom military, watched the Saudi delegation from the Camel region leave the 077 mechanical arsenal. They then returned to the conference room to discuss the details of the medium-range ballistic missile sale. Upon arriving, a senior Yan Kingdom military official eagerly inquired, Mr. Lin, do you think the Swordas from the Camel region will agree to the proposal of only one equality warhead? Lin Chenran calmly replied, from the looks of Abdul and the other Saudi representatives from the Camel region, I think the deal is about 80% settled. The Swordas from the Camel region only want deterrence. One missile is about the same as multiple. One is more concealed and more threatening. The Yan Kingdom military leaders present frowned upon hearing this, as if they were witnessing a massive influx of funds. Meanwhile, the Saudi representatives from the Camel region returned to their hotel from the 077 mechanical arsenal without first reporting back to their home country. Instead, they held a meeting first. Once everyone reached a consensus, Abdul secretly sent a telegram back home, reporting the progress of the negotiations. The Saudi high-level officials in the Camel region therefore held a meeting. After weighing the pros and cons, they finally reached a consensus. They decided to agree to the Yan military's request and purchase only one equality of all beings warhead. A secret call was made to Abdul, who was far away in Yan. After receiving the response from home, Abdul and the other members of the Saudi delegation from the Camel region breathed a sigh of relief. The fact that their country's high-level officials had agreed to the Yan military's request would be crucial for the subsequent negotiations. Now that both sides had reached a consensus, the subsequent negotiations would be very easy for these Saudi representatives from the Camel region. As long as the price was right, they could introduce medium-range ballistic missiles and a powerful equality of all beings warhead to their country. After Abdul held a meeting to unify the delegation members' thoughts, he immediately notified Lin Chenran, asking him to inform the Yan military leaders. After receiving the notification, Lin Chenran's mouth curled up slightly. Everything was under his control. The resumption of negotiations with Saudi Arabia in the Camel region means that the other party has agreed to the request made by the military of their own country. Only purchase one equality warhead. Immediately afterwards, Lin Chenran explained his analysis to the bigwigs of the Yan state military. This immediately made the bigwigs of the Yan state military excited. As long as Saudi Arabia in the Camel region agrees to purchase one equality warhead, the room for maneuver will become very large for the entire Yan state. Abdul came to the 077 mechanical arsenal again in his own fleet of Rolls Royces. This time, Lin Chenran brought a group of Yan state military bigwigs to welcome the arrival of the big money bag and big god of wealth in front of the complex building of the 077 mechanical arsenal. After a while, Abdul's Rolls-Royce fleet arrived in front of the complex building of the 077 mechanical arsenal. Lin Chenran and a group of Yan state military bigwigs greeted them with a smile. Abdul hurriedly stepped out of the car and quickly stepped forward to shake Elder Wei's hands, apologizing. Elder Wei and everyone else, there's no need to greet us at the entrance of the 077 machinery arsenal complex. We know where the conference room is. Abdul then jokingly said, I'm probably more familiar with the 077 machinery arsenal conference room than Lin is. It feels like home. This immediately drew laughter from everyone present. Elder Wei smiled. Abdul, everyone who comes through is a guest. We certainly give a warm welcome to distinguished guests. The atmosphere was harmonious now. But when the negotiations began, who knew? Tensions could flare. This was a matter of national interest for both sides. Abdul, this way. Lin Chenran, the protagonist, led the group into the conference room and arranged for someone to close the door. After everyone was seated, Elder Wei and a group of Yan state military leaders signaled to Lin Chenran, telling him to act accordingly. Lin Chenran understood instantly. Out of sight of the Saudi representatives from the Camel region, he made an okay gesture to the Yan country military leaders. Then, Lin Chenran began to inquire, Abdul, after reporting to the leaders back home, did you get any results? After Lin Chenran finished speaking, the Yan country military leaders all stared at Abdul, who was standing in the front row, hoping to get good news from him. After hearing Lin Chenran's question, Abdul replied calmly, Lin, and everyone else, our country has agreed to the results of the previous negotiations. Suddenly, everyone's faces were filled with bright smiles. Once this condition was agreed upon, subsequent negotiations would be much simpler. The subsequent negotiations would simply be a matter of price. For the wealthy Saudi Arabia from the Camel region, the richest country in the world, that was no problem. Then, the Saudi representatives from the Camel region announced how many medium-range ballistic missiles they wanted to purchase. 35 medium-range ballistic missiles. After the Saudi representative from the Camel region finished speaking, the Yan nation military leaders were delighted. They had to admire Lin Chenran's strength. The Saudis from the Camel region were really going to purchase over 30 medium-range ballistic missiles. This could even be estimated. So cool. Then, a Yan nation military leader announced the price of his own medium-range ballistic missiles. This immediately caused the Saudi representatives from the Camel region to exclaim in surprise. Chapter 204 Young man, you are so conscientious. After hearing the price of the Dongfeng 3 missile from the Yan state military leader, the Saudi representatives in the Camel region exclaimed in surprise. $150 million for a medium-range ballistic missile. Nuclear warheads are not included. Compared to the Eagle source's refusal, and the high purchase price and various conditions attached by the bear, the Saudi delegation members in the Camel region felt that the price of the Yan state's Dongfeng missile was too cheap. Really? The price of a Dongfeng 3 missile is really only $150 million? Your country is so conscientious. Young man, you are so conscientious. Seeing this, the Yan state military leaders felt inwardly, damn, it's too little. $150 million for a Dongfeng 3 medium-range ballistic missile is too cheap. This is really the wealthy Saudi kingdom. This was the unanimous thought of the Yan state military leaders. And old Wei stared at Lin Chenran with a dirty look. If looks could kill, Lin Chenran had already laid down. Why didn't they tell them before that the price would be raised a bit? The Saudi delegation from the Camel region all felt That $150 million for a Dongfeng 3 intermediate range ballistic missile was too cheap. Lin Chenran, out of sight of the Saudi delegation from the Camel region, made a helpless gesture to Elder Wei. Who would have known that the Saudi delegation from the Camel region felt that $150 million for a Dongfeng 3 intermediate range ballistic missile was cheap. Seeing this, Elder Wei felt it was not right to criticize him too much. Indeed, according to the $100 million to $150 million price tag Lin Chenran had previously mentioned for selling the Dongfeng 3 intermediate range ballistic missile, at $150 million per missile, the Yan military was making a killing. Without counting the nuclear warheads, the Yan military could earn $5.25 billion from the Sudus and the Camel region, not even counting the subsequent maintenance costs. If calculated this way, the Yan military could earn over $6 billion from the Sudus and the Camel region. This was significantly more than the $3.5 billion earned in his previous life. With this $6 billion injection, the Yan state military will be able to upgrade its weaponry more quickly. Yan state's third-tier military factories will be able to develop even more rapidly. Yan state's economy has received a boost. Both parties were interested in purchasing a Dongfeng 3 intermediate range ballistic missile for $150 million, which set the subsequent negotiations off to a good start. The subsequent negotiations proceeded in a relaxed and pleasant atmosphere. All conditions were agreed upon. Then, with Lin Chenran as witness, the two parties signed a significant contract. After signing the contract, Elder Wei extended his hand enthusiastically. Abdul, it's a pleasure to work with you. It's a pleasure to work with you. Now, I'll have to trouble the Yan state military, Abdul said with a smile, shaking his hand. This is what we should do. We will send our most professional engineers to maintain the Dongfeng 3 intermediate range ballistic missiles and nuclear warheads. If you need any upgrades or modifications, please let us know. We can do it, and we will definitely do it for you. Elder Wei spoke directly and straightforwardly. How could he not be straightforward? The Sudus and the Camel region have spent an estimated $6 billion on the Yan nation military. Even such a big money sponsor and living god of wealth deserves careful consideration from Elder Wei. Elder Wei finally understood, while Lin Chenran kept saying the Sudus and the Camel region were the richest in the world, with only a piece of cloth on their heads. This was the perfect proof. Is $6 billion expensive for the Sudus and the Camel region? Of course not. If the Sudus and the Camel region properly exploit oil, they could recoup $6 billion in one fell swoop. Simply flip on a pipeline, and $6 billion will arrive in your Alipay account. Abdul, upon seeing this, replied bluntly, no problem. We in the Sudus will definitely not be shy later. If necessary, we will contact you for upgrades and optimizations. Then, Abdul jokingly added, when the time comes, please don't find us too much trouble and refuse to help us with upgrades and optimizations. The conference room erupted in laughter. Elder Wei readily replied, how could that be? You're a major financial backer, so we'll definitely provide excellent after-sales service. Unless you don't need us anymore. Later, Yan nation would annually inquire with Saudi Arabia in the Luochao region about upgrading and optimizing their DF-3 intermediate range ballistic missiles. It happened every year. It never failed. The Yan nation military valued the DF-3 intermediate range ballistic missiles even more than Saudi Arabia in the Luochao region. Making money wasn't shabby. Every year, being able to snatch some upgrade and optimization funds from Saudi Arabia in the Luochao region was a rare treat for the Yan nation military. It was rare for a country to fleece them. After the contract was signed, the Yan nation military leaders began to orderly depart the 077 mechanical arsenal. However, the delegation from Saudi Arabia in the Luochao region remained. Lin Chenran wanted to keep the delegation. After all, the 077 mechanical arsenal's fuel-air explosive bombs hadn't been sold yet. How could they let them leave so easily? This wasn't Lin Chenran's style. The Yan Kingdom military was making a killing, so Lin Chenran had to make a small profit too. Otherwise, how could he justify his busy schedule these past few days? Abdul was also very understanding. After everyone returned to the conference room, Abdul smiled slightly and said, Lin, thank you for your great assistance. This is how the Yan Kingdom military sold us the Dongfeng 3 intermediate range ballistic missiles. I've already deposited some money into my previous bank account. We in Saudi Arabia are never stingy with our friends. A hard work fee still had to be paid. If it weren't for Lin Chenran, the negotiations between the Yan Kingdom military and Saudi Arabia in the Camel region regarding the Dongfeng 3 intermediate-range ballistic missiles and nuclear warheads would have lasted a long time. With Lin Chenran's involvement, the two sides reached an agreement and signed a contract in less than a week. Lin Chenran played an indispensable role in this. So Abdul decided to give Lin Chenran a benefit fee. Upon hearing this, Lin Chenran's mouth curled up, and he thought to himself, friends really are reliable. He had to be reliable, and the hard work fee went without saying. The other party was very willing to give it to him. Very nice. Lin Chenran smiled and thanked. Thank you Abdul, you are so polite. I'm very happy to help a friend. Abdul understood instantly. He had learned about the various cultures of Yan country. This was a humble response, not that he really did not want this hardship fee. If the hardship fee is not given, it will be extremely difficult for Abdul to get Lin Chenran's help in the future. Without hardship fee, who is willing to help you? Friends? That's just what he said. After chatting for a while, let's get to the point. This time, several senior executives of the 077 Mechanical Military Factory and the chief designer of the fuel-air explosive bomb came to attend the meeting and introduce the fuel-air explosive bomb to their customers in detail. When Abdul and others learned that the 077 Mechanical Military Factory introduced the fuel-air explosive bomb, they all showed shock. Chapter 205, $500 million to purchase 100 fuel-air bombs and technology. Abdul and other sorters in the Camel region were familiar with fuel-air explosives. 10 years prior, the United States had used fuel-air explosives against the Monkey Kingdom, causing a huge stir. Large areas of buildings were burned, and soldiers hiding in bunkers suffered horrific deaths, some burned alive, others suffering wounds in their throats and faces reddening and turning purple. Fuel-air explosives subsequently gained respectable names such as subnuclear bombs and nuclear bombs without nuclear contamination. The Sudis in the Camel region had initially proposed purchasing fuel-air explosives, but were flatly rejected. The Americans righteously stated that it was impossible to provide the Sudis in the Camel region with high destructive weaponry. This further complicated the complex situation in the Camel region. The fact that the 077 machinery arsenal had developed fuel-air explosives was a source of astonishment for the Saudi delegation from the Camel region. This technology was being tightly controlled by Russia and the United States, perhaps even more so than the atomic bomb. After all, this type of bomb could be used on the battlefield, and its deterrent power was immense. Lin, can your 077 mechanical arsenal really produce fuel-air explosives? Abdul asked tentatively. If the 077 mechanical arsenal truly possesses fuel-air explosives, then the Sudis in the Luocho region wouldn't mind purchasing a batch to use as a deterrent. And if they finally reach the limit of their patience, they could simply let their enemies experience the power of these subnuclear fuel-air explosives. Lin Chenran smiled slightly and replied proudly, yes, our 077 mechanical arsenal possesses the technology to manufacture fuel-air explosives. While we don't have a finished product yet, it won't take long to produce and test them. Wow. That's amazing. Lin, if you truly possess fuel-air explosives, the Sudis in the Luocho region could purchase a batch. Abdul marveled at the 077 mechanical arsenal's military prowess. They could manufacture a wide range of military products, especially not just a single set of weapons and equipment. The 077 mechanical arsenal could produce fighter jets, helicopters, tanks, artillery shells, light weapons, missiles, and more. And now, it had given Abdul another surprise. It could manufacture fuel-air explosives, known as subnuclear bombs. Abdul, does your country, Saudi Arabia, want fuel-air explosive technology? Lin Chenran's voice, like a succubus, captivated every member of the Camel region Saudi delegation in the conference room. Hiss. No way. Lin, this can't be true. The Camel region Saudi delegation members began to discuss. If the 077 mechanical arsenal could sell fuel-air explosive technology to the Camel region Saudis, they wouldn't mind spending the money to buy it. The Camel region Swordists would definitely want to possess fuel air explosive technology, known as subnuclear bombs, so that they could have a trump card in their hands. Lin Chenran replied with a smile, "Our 077 mechanical arsenal can sell the fuel air explosive bomb technology to you, Saudi Arabia, but the price." He hesitated, then continued, "There are some conditions attached. Of course, these conditions won't be too harsh." Abdul waved his hand and said proudly, "Price is not an issue. Your 077 mechanical arsenal's conditions are not overly harsh, and we Swordists are willing to comply." Abdul was decisive. He wanted to add a high destructive weapon to his country. Acquiring a high destructive weapon for his country would earn Abdul greater respect at home, and earn him the favor of his superiors. "Abdul, the price of a large fuel air explosive bomb is $3 million US. If you want the fuel air explosive technology, you need to purchase 100 large fuel air explosive bombs, plus $200 million US in technology transfer fees." Lin Chenran stated his conditions directly. That's it? Abdul had expected Lin Chenran to make some harsh demands. Unexpectedly, he just wanted the Saudi Arabia in the Camel region to purchase a batch of fuel air explosive bombs and transfer the technology fees. For the Saudi Arabia in the Camel region, this was so easy. Abdul felt that it was worth $500 million US to purchase a batch of fuel air explosive bombs and related technologies. Abdul quickly agreed. $500 million US is no problem. He was still afraid that Lin Chenran would go back on his word. Lin Chenran and the senior executives of the 077 Mechanical Military Factory heard this, and their faces were filled with bright smiles. It is indeed the wealthy Saudi Arabia in the Camel region. $500 million US was agreed without hesitation. Saudi Arabia in the Camel region, I lack everything, but I don't lack money. After Lin Chenran got the answer he wanted, he immediately signaled the person in charge of the fuel air explosive bomb project of the 077 Mechanical Military Factory to introduce his own fuel air explosive bombs to the delegation members of the Saudi Arabia in the Camel region. The more he introduced, the more excited he became. After listening to the introduction of the fuel air explosive bomb, the delegation of the Saudi Arabia in the Camel region all had their eyes lit up. It turns out that in addition to heavy fuel air explosives, there are also small, handheld fuel air explosives. While not as powerful, they are uniquely effective against bunkers. Abdul was extremely excited. "Lin, when will the first heavy fuel air explosive be produced?" Lin Chenran thought for a moment and replied directly, "In a month, we will see a live fuel air explosive. Of course, as long as the contract is signed, we can gradually provide you with the fuel air explosive technology." Before seeing the actual product, he first made money. Only Lin Chenran could do it. 1 month. So fast? Abdul was instantly amazed at this. This is too fast. Actually, we have the relevant technology at the 077 mechanical arsenal. We just need to debug the new production line, and then we can produce heavy fuel air explosives. Of course, our 077 mechanical arsenal has already manufactured small, handheld fuel air explosives, and can be tested. The technology of fuel air explosives is relatively simple. The upgraded version of fuel air explosives thermobaric bombs will be more complex. Really? Although Abdul and other members of the Saudi delegation from the Camel region had heard of fuel air explosive bombs, they had never seen them with their own eyes. They had only learned about them from international news and intelligence from intelligence personnel. Now the 077 mechanical arsenal actually has small handheld fuel air explosive bombs. In addition to being excited, they also wanted to see the experiment of the fuel air explosive bomb, which is said to be a subnuclear bomb. Then Lin Chenran led everyone to the experimental site of the 077 mechanical arsenal. Lin Chenran also signaled his staff to bring up the small handheld fuel air explosive bomb for everyone to watch and play with. Everyone was also very careful about their lives, so they just watched and did not play with it. "Abdul, this is a small handheld fuel air explosive bomb. It can be launched through the handheld rocket launcher that our 077 mechanical arsenal also needs. This can quickly eliminate the enemies in the bunker. In 3 minutes, the enemies in the bunker will either be burned to death or suffocated to death." Chapter 206 Small Scale Air Bomb Test Results. After Lin Chenran finished speaking, He waved to the staff behind him, and the staff quickly took action and began to prepare for the test of the small handheld fuel air explosive bomb. Everyone at the scene held their breath and stared nervously at the front, looking forward to the results of the test. They knew that this test would be directly related to the performance and practicality of this new weapon. 150 meters away from the scene, there is a bunker, which is usually used to test various weapons and equipment. Today it has a special mission testing small handheld fuel air explosive bombs. There are some livestock placed inside and outside the bunker. These livestock will be used to simulate the situation when humans are attacked by fuel air explosive bombs. By observing the reactions of the livestock, we can more intuitively understand the degree of damage caused by fuel air explosive bombs to the human body. After completing the preparations, the testers of the 077 mechanical arsenal came to Lin Chenran and reported to him whether a shooting test could be carried out. Lin Chenran, his expression serious and his gaze fixed firmly ahead, gave the order without hesitation: test according to normal procedures. Upon hearing this command, the testers immediately returned to their posts, picked up their specially designed rocket launchers, and carefully disassembled the small fuel air explosive shells. Their movements were skillful and precise, each step brimming with professionalism. Lin Chenran turned around, a brilliant smile on his face, and said to the crowd, "Abdul, and everyone, now is the time to witness the power of the small, handheld fuel air explosive. Let's look forward to it." His voice was filled with confidence and excitement, as if he had already seen the shocking scene to come. He then added, "Please keep your eyes open and enjoy this feast. Believe me, you will not be disappointed." His words radiated a strong sense of confidence and anticipation, filling the Camel Region Saudi delegation with curiosity and anticipation for the upcoming demonstration of the fuel air explosive. A sudden silence fell, and everyone held their breath nervously, their eyes fixed on the front, awaiting the test. Testers at the 077 mechanical arsenal carefully loaded a small fuel air explosive bomb into a specially designed rocket launcher and gestured OK to the operator in the control room, signaling readiness. At the signal from the flag bearer, the operator took a deep breath and, with a touch of trepidation, slowly pressed the launch button. With a resounding bang, the small fuel air explosive bomb shot out of the launcher like an arrow from a bow, trailing a long trail of flames like a meteor streaking across the sky, heading straight for the target bunker. The livestock inside and around the bunker seemed to sense an unprecedented threat, becoming extremely aggressive and letting out cries of fear. Everyone watching, telescopes in hand, stared intently at the bunker, eagerly anticipating the test's outcome. In the blink of an eye, the small fuel air explosive bomb made close contact with the bunker, colliding violently and triggering a devastating explosion. A massive fireball instantly soared into the sky, forming a small mushroom cloud. The blazing heat from the explosion made everyone in the distant audience feel the heat wave, as if they were in a furnace. This power was unmatched by ordinary rocket artillery. While ordinary rocket shells explode, they usually only produce a certain impact and destructive force, not such blazing heat. However, the detonation of this fuel air explosive bomb released extremely high heat, making the surrounding environment extremely hot. This difference is the fundamental difference between the two types of artillery shells. Lin Chenran turned to Abdul and smiled at him proudly. "How is it? The small fuel air explosive bomb is quite powerful, right?" He was full of confidence in the fuel air explosive bomb designed by his own 077 machinery and arsenal. Abdul was extremely excited, his eyes shining with excitement. He replied loudly, "Lin, you have shown us the power of the fuel air explosive bomb first, and it is simply amazing." His voice was filled with awe and awe. The power of the small fuel air explosive bomb was so astonishing, so how shocking would the larger and more lethal heavy fuel air explosive bomb be? Abdul's heart sank as he imagined the terrifying power. If his own country possessed such powerful artillery shells, what kind of deterrent would they demonstrate? After a half hour of waiting, the intense heat generated by the fuel air explosive bomb finally dissipated. As the smoke cleared, the scene before everyone was shocking. The livestock outside the bunker had been completely charred, their carcasses blackened and emitting a foul, burnt odor. A pungent odor filled the air, forcing everyone to cover their noses. This scene made the terrifying power of the fuel air explosive bomb deeply felt. Then, Lin Chenran signaled for the staff of his 077 mechanical arsenal to bring a batch of gas masks for everyone to wear. He wanted to show everyone up close what happened after the fuel air explosive bomb exploded. Soon, after donning their gear, the staff of the 077 mechanical arsenal led them into the area where the small fuel air explosive bomb had just exploded. The scene inside the bunker astonished the Saudi delegation from the Camel region. The scene could only be described as horrific. Even if the animals inside weren't burned, they were dead. And the way they died was horrific. They foamed at the mouth, their bodies turned purple, as if someone was strangling them, suffocating them. After leaving the bunker, everyone removed their gas masks. Some of the Saudi delegation from the Camel region went to the side and vomited. The tragic scene inside the bunker made them feel a little uncomfortable. There was no way. Although it was a group of animals that died inside, the way they died was terrifying. Although Abdul didn't vomit, his face was very pale, but he was very excited inside. Even small fuel air explosives are so powerful. What about heavy fuel air explosives? You can imagine how powerful they are. Abdul was excited just thinking about it. Coming to Yan country, they could obtain several high destructive weapons and equipment. It was a complete reward. After returning to the Saudi kingdom in the Camel region, Abdul would continue to be valued. Lin Chenran remained calm and asked with a smile, "Abdul, is the power of the fuel air explosive bomb manufactured by our 077 mechanical arsenal okay?" He wanted to get the result from the customer. Upon hearing this, Abdul raised his thumb and praised, "Lin, the fuel air explosive bomb designed by your 077 mechanical arsenal is awesome. The power is really awesome. I rushed back today. I'm a little late in typing. Thank you for your support." Chapter 207. $6 billion suddenly loses its appeal. Abdul was full of praise for the fuel air explosive bomb produced by the 077 mechanical arsenal. Although it was only a small fuel air explosive, the powerful force it demonstrated fully met Abdul and his group's expectations of a fuel air explosive. The Saudi delegation from the Camel region followed closely behind, expressing admiration and amazement. They realized that this massively destructive shell would become a deadly weapon on the battlefield. The Camel region soldiers must urgently introduce this advanced weaponry to bolster their national defense and establish a strong deterrent against other nations. Mr. Abdul, thank you very much for your recognition of our product. Your approval is the driving force behind our research and development, Lin Chenran replied with a smile. This indirectly highlighted the Camel region soldiers' discerning eye for selecting weaponry. These words were met with hearty laughter. Everyone felt a palpable sense of camaraderie. After witnessing the astonishing power of the small fuel air explosive bomb produced by the 077 mechanical arsenal, the Camel region soldiers were filled with confidence in the upcoming heavy fuel air explosive. They were eager to have heavy fuel air explosive bombs for their country. So Abdul could not wait to urge Lin Chenran to return to the 077 mechanical arsenal to sign the contract as soon as possible. He was worried that such an excellent artillery shell might be restricted by the Yan country's military and could not be sold to other countries. At Abdul's urging, the group quickly got on the car and returned to the 077 mechanical arsenal. After returning to the 077 mechanical arsenal, the two sides signed a fuel air explosive bomb procurement and technology transfer plan. The total contract amount exceeded $500 million. After the contract was signed, everyone had a bright smile on their faces. The 077 mechanical arsenal received an order of $500 million. The Saudi kingdom in the Camel region obtained a powerful fuel air explosive bomb, known as a subnuclear bomb. Both parties were happy with the transaction. Each got what they needed. Abdul, please come to Yan country in a month. We'll find a testing ground to test the heavy fuel air explosive bomb. $500 million is really not expensive. It's a great value. After signing the contract, Lin Chenran smiled and invited Abdul to come to Yan country in a month to witness the explosion of the heavy fuel air explosive bomb. No problem, I'll be there. Abdul was very interested. This kind of scene is not common. Of course, as customers, they have the right to witness the grand explosion of the first heavy fuel air explosive bomb. After signing the contract, the Saudi delegation from the Camel region, led by Abdul, slowly drove away from the 077 mechanical arsenal in their fleet of Rolls-Royces. Lin Chenran and the senior executives of the 077 mechanical arsenal watched them leave. They waited until Abdul's car disappeared from their sight before turning and leaving. When the 077 mechanical arms factory reported a $500 million contract with Saudi Arabia in the Luocho region, the Yan military leaders were surprised. They felt their $6 billion order was a bit underwhelming. This was an order earned by selling heavy weapons to a major power, and the 077 mechanical arms factory earned $500 million just by selling 100 heavy fuel air explosive bombs and related technology. Initially, the Yan military was reluctant to leak the fuel air explosive technology. However, the 077 mechanical arms factory directly informed the Yan military that they possessed an upgraded version of the fuel air explosive, the thermobaric bomb. Thermobaric bombs were even more powerful and brutal. This convinced the Yan military brass to agree to sell the fuel air explosive technology to Saudi Arabia in the Luocho region. While they agreed, the news of the $500 million sale evoked a look of envy among the Yan military. Indeed, the 077 mechanical arms factory possessed a first-class advantage in arms sales, surpassing even the nation's third-tier military factories. The 077 mechanical arms factory was far ahead of the other third-tier factories. Good news came from Chengfei Military Industry Company, the third-generation fighter jet that the Chinese people have been looking forward to. The J-10 fighter jet is about to make its maiden flight, and Chief Engineer Song Wen also wants to invite Lin Chenran to witness this moment. Previously, the Dragon Shadow fighter jet of the 077 mechanical arsenal successfully completed its test flight and received a large number of orders, which made the J-10 fighter team feel angry. They really didn't expect that the Dragon Shadow fighter jet of the 077 mechanical arsenal would be developed faster than them and conduct test flights. Although the Dragon Shadow fighter jet is a second generation and a half fighter jet, in some ways, it is better than the J-10 fighter jet. The Dragon Shadow fighter jet is a second generation and a half fighter jet that is infinitely close to a third generation fighter jet. After receiving the invitation from Chief Engineer Song Wen, Lin Chenran would certainly be happy to participate in the maiden flight of the J-10 fighter jet. Lin Chenran, who came to Chengfei Military Industry Company, was warmly greeted by Song Wen. Lin Chenran couldn't handle Song Wen's enthusiasm and waved his hands repeatedly. "Chief Engineer Song Wen, you're too polite." Song Wen, however, shrugged, repeatedly expressing his gratitude. "General Lin, if it weren't for you, the 077 machinery and military factory, we don't know when our J-10 fighter jet would be designed, manufactured, and ready for its maiden flight." The J-10 fighter's heart, the AL-31FN turbofan engine, was also manufactured by the 077 machinery and military factory. Several J-10 fighter components were also supplied by the 077 machinery and military factory. "Lin, this way." A familiar voice echoed in Lin Chenran's ears. Lin Chenran turned and saw that it was Elder Wei, the head of the Yan State Military's equipment department, greeting him. Lin Chenran tactfully strode forward and greeted him. Wei. "Hello, everyone." After exchanging greetings, they got straight to the point. The domestically produced third-generation fighter jet, the J-10, is finally about to take its maiden flight. A Yan State military leader sighed deeply. The Yan Air Force has long awaited a third-generation fighter jet. The Langying fighter jet, designed, developed, and manufactured by the 077 machinery arsenal, has yet to be deployed in Yan. Priority will be given to Pakistan. The Yan military only has a few Langying fighter jets for routine training. The arrival of the J-10 fighter jet will empower our Air Force to counter air threats from other countries. Major powers all possess third-generation fighter jets, some with multiple models, not just one. Meanwhile, the Yan military's fighter jets are still outdated, first and second generation fighters. They're far behind the advanced third generation fighters. The Yan military is still completely blank in the field of third generation fighters, and the arrival of the J-10 fighter jet fills this void. Everyone is eager to see the J-10 fighter jet. Song Wen leads the group to a warehouse, where the J-10 fighter jets are temporarily stored. Soon, the J-10 fighter jet will slowly emerge from this warehouse, undergo a test flight, and soar into the blue sky. Chapter 208 JL-10 fighter jet begins flight test. Everyone entered the temporary warehouse with excitement, their eyes immediately drawn to the majestic J-10 fighter jet before them. It sat quietly, exuding a powerful and majestic aura, like a sleeping lion, waiting to awaken. A golden light shone in everyone's eyes, awestruck by the J-10's majesty and dominance. The aircraft, like a sharp sword, poised to be unsheathed, displayed unparalleled power. "Is this our J-10 fighter?" a Yan Nation military leader exclaimed in disbelief. He had seen J-10 design drawings before, but the actual aircraft before him astonished him. The craftsmanship was exquisite, every detail meticulously crafted, 100 times more exquisite than the original design. The J-10 fighter jet employed a unique ventral air intake, with 6 reinforcing ribs above the intake ducts, enhancing the aircraft's stability and maneuverability. Its closely coupled canard aerodynamic layout, with a double delta mid-wing and a delta canard, gave the aircraft enhanced maneuverability and agility in the air. The aircraft is 14.57 meters long, has a wingspan of 8.78 meters, and is 5.3 meters high. It has a maximum ceiling of 18,000 meters, a combat radius of 1,250 kilometers, a maximum range of 3,200 kilometers, a maximum takeoff weight of 19 tons, and a maximum speed of Mach 2.2. As Song Wen led the group toward the J-10 fighter, he detailed its basic specifications and performance characteristics. He passionately expounded on the fighter's remarkable qualities, allowing the attendees to gain a deeper understanding of its formidable capabilities. Lin Chenran stood in the crowd, his gaze fixed on the J-10, a surge of indescribable emotion welling up within him. In this parallel world, the J-10 fighter had achieved mass production over a decade or even 20 years ahead of schedule. This represented a monumental breakthrough for Yan's military aviation, enabling them to possess advanced third-generation fighter jets decades ahead of schedule. This technological leap would greatly enhance Yan's national defense and international standing. As the group concluded their tour of the static J-10 fighter, their faces beamed with smiles. The senior leaders of the Yan State Air Force were particularly pleased with the J-10's performance. Seeing the expressions of the crowd, Song Wen, standing by, felt a sense of relief. As long as the J-10 could successfully pass the Yan State military's rigorous review, it could begin production and be deployed to the troops. After admiring the J-10's static display, everyone began to anticipate its dynamic performance. No matter how beautiful a fighter jet might appear statically, it wouldn't be considered a success if it couldn't demonstrate exceptional performance in dynamic flight. Everyone was eager to witness the J-10's majestic flight. Elder Wen turned to Song Wen and spoke with a serious and focused expression. "Song Wen, next is the J-10's dynamic demonstration. Are you ready?" His voice was filled with solemnity and anticipation, as if the importance of this moment was self-evident. During the previous test flight of the Dragon Shadow fighter at the 077 machinery arsenal, Elder Wen hadn't been particularly nervous. But now, he was trembling uncontrollably. Why? Because this was Yan State's officially third-generation fighter. The previous Dragon Shadow fighter was only a second-generation and a half fighter. The prestigious reputation of the 077 machinery and arsenal gave Wei Lao and other Yan State military leaders great peace of mind. Because the 077 machinery and arsenal possessed such capabilities, Chengfei Military Industry Company was not the 077 machinery and arsenal. Therefore, a fighter jet's maiden flight was fraught with uncertainty. Whether it was a mechanical failure, an electronic system issue, or other unforeseen circumstances, everything could change in an instant. This made flight tests a high-risk undertaking, requiring test pilots to possess exceptional technical proficiency and the mental fortitude to remain calm and composed in times of crisis. The test pilot profession is widely considered one of the most dangerous. Not only do they face numerous challenges during flight, they must also maintain constant vigilance to ensure their own safety and that of the aircraft. Mistakes or accidents can have catastrophic consequences, potentially even resulting in the destruction of the aircraft and the loss of life. At this moment, although Song Wen felt a little uneasy, he suppressed his inner anxiety, maintaining a firm and resolute expression. He fully understood the importance of this test flight and the mission he shouldered. In response to Mr. Wen's inquiry, Song Wen replied without hesitation, "Mr. Wei, we are fully prepared. Please rest assured." His eyes were firm and confident, inspiring anticipation for the test flight. Upon hearing Song Wen's response, Mr. Wen's heart slowly settled. He knew Song Wen was a meticulous and responsible person, and with his certainty, the chances of a successful test flight were even greater. Lin Chenran, standing nearby, understood this sentiment perfectly. As a colleague, he understood the tension before a test flight. He reassured him, "Mr. Wei, rest assured. The J-10 fighter jet will definitely complete its maiden flight. I have every confidence in the J-10 fighter jet designed by Chief Designer Song Wen." His words revealed his confidence in the J-10 fighter jet. The J-10 fighter jet is equipped with the domestically produced AL-31FN turbofan engine, manufactured by the 077 Machinery and Military Factory. It boasts a powerful power output. This engine utilizes advanced technology to provide the powerful thrust that allows the J-10 fighter jet to soar freely through the air. As the saying goes in the aviation industry, with enough thrust, even a brick can fly. He was confident that the J-10 fighter would successfully complete its maiden flight. Indeed, the J-10 fighter wasn't designed and developed solely by Chengfei Military Industry Corporation. The 077 Machinery and Military Factory played a crucial role in its development. In particular, the AL-31FN turbofan engine, a key power output device used by the J-10 fighter, was supplied by the 077 Machinery and Military Factory. Many other crucial components were also meticulously manufactured by the 077 Machinery and Military Factory. Song Wen, now that everything is ready, let's not waste any more precious time and begin the first test flight. Elder Wen decisively decided and instructed Song Wen to arrange the J-10 fighter's flight test. Upon hearing the order, Song Wen immediately relayed the relevant instructions to the nearby Chengfei staff, urging them to complete the pre-flight preparations as quickly as possible. As the Chengfei Military Industry Corporation staff prepared, Lin Chenran asked Elder Wei nearby how many J-10 fighters the Yan Kingdom military would purchase if their performance was superior. Song Wen, standing nearby, was also very curious. Amidst the crowd's anticipation, Elder Wei spoke directly. "First batch of 50. Song Wen's eyes lit up at his response. 50 J-10 fighter jets. This was a significant order. Amidst the crowd's eager gaze, the J-10 fighter jet began its maiden flight. Chapter 209 JL-10 fighter jet successfully completed its maiden flight. With a roar, the J-10 fighter jet's engine revved, and blazing flames erupted from its tail, like a slumbering lion awakening. Then, it slowly emerged from the temporary storage facility, like a mighty beast, exuding a powerful presence and majesty. A moment later, the J-10 fighter jet arrived at the designated takeoff runway, and stopped at the start. The atmosphere intensified as everyone present clenched their fists, their eyes filled with anticipation and excitement. They were about to witness a historic moment, and this J-10 fighter jet carried the hopes and dreams of countless people. It was hailed as a pride aircraft because it embodied the hopes of the Chinese people. A successful test flight would be of profound significance to the entire Yan state. It would signify the country's access to a more advanced third-generation fighter jet and bolster its overall air power. With this powerful third-generation fighter jet, Yan state would be able to better safeguard national security, maintain territorial integrity, and effectively repel any invading enemy. Lin Chenran stared intently at the slowly moving J-10 fighter jet, his face lit with admiration. He couldn't help but praise it repeatedly. "Chief Engineer Song Wen, the J-10 fighter jet you designed and developed is truly formidable. The exterior is stylish and elegant, with flowing lines, giving it a strong visual impact. The craftsmanship is exquisite, and every component has been meticulously designed and manufactured." Hearing Lin Chenran's praise, Song Wen's lips curled up, his eyes gleaming with pride. He was deeply gratified to receive Lin Chenran's recognition. The 077 Machinery and Arsenal has always been a leader in Yan's military industry. It is particularly unique in arms sales, and is highly sought after. Mr. Lin, thank you for the strong support of the 077 Machinery and Arsenal. Without your assistance, the design of the J-10 fighter jet would not have been so perfect. As the saying goes, if someone shows you respect, you should show them respect in return. Lin Chenran now holds a preeminent position and is highly respected. Song Wen naturally understood the intricacies of this. He wasn't a complete novice, but he possessed a mastery of social etiquette. Chief Engineer Song Wen, you're so polite. Even without the participation of our 077 machinery arsenal, with the capabilities of your Chengfei military industry company, you could design and develop the J-10 fighter. Lin Chenran and Song Wen were enjoying a lively conversation. Just then, a sudden voice interrupted their conversation. Look, the J-10 fighter is about to take off. Everyone's attention was immediately drawn to the J-10 on the runway. The J-10 slowly advanced along the runway, gradually gaining speed. Once it reached a certain speed, the pilot decisively pulled up the control stick, and the J-10 instantly lifted off the ground like an arrow, soaring into the vast blue sky. Seeing this, everyone standing on the observation deck couldn't help but cheer in unison, their excitement evident. The J-10 fighter, after so much development, had finally achieved its results. Lin Chenran walked steadily up to Song Wen, a sincere smile on his face, and offered his warm congratulations. Congratulations, Chief Designer Song Wen, on the successful launch of the J-10 fighter jet. This is undoubtedly a major leap forward for my country's aviation industry, marking a new breakthrough for our country in the field of third-generation fighter jets. Song Wen's eyes sparkled with tears of excitement, his heart filled with joy beyond words. He had led the design team, toiled day and night, and now the J-10 fighter jet had finally reached its test flight. All his hard work and dedication had finally paid off. Thank you, Chief Lin, Song Wen said sincerely, without a hint of pride or complacency. He knew the J-10's success was inseparable from the support and assistance of so many people, as well as the full cooperation of major military factories. Without their tireless support, the J-10's rapid maiden flight would have been unthinkable. The assistance provided by the 077 machinery and military factory was particularly crucial. From the initial design stages to the subsequent resolution of critical issues like the core engine problem, the 077 machinery and military factory played an indispensable role. The J-10 fighter jet soared freely through the air like a nimble eagle, showcasing its exceptional maneuverability and flight performance. Its unique design, like a work of art, exuded a captivating charm. As it flew overhead, it shone like a shining star, capturing everyone's attention. The eyes of the Air Force leaders on the observation deck gleamed with anticipation and excitement. This was the national treasure they had long dreamed of. With it, Yan's air power would be greatly enhanced. Once the J-10 fighter jet was officially deployed, they would no longer be at a disadvantage in aerial combat. Third-generation fighter jets versus third-generation fighter jets, who would fear whom? At this moment, the Air Force leaders were filled with confidence. Since this was the J-10 fighter jet's first test flight, it did not undergo intensive testing. The test pilots needed time to familiarize themselves with the new fighter's operation and performance. Only after the test pilots had fully grasped the J-10's characteristics could they gradually begin various intensive testing and experiments. When all the test experiments are successfully completed, the J-10 fighter jet can begin mass production and be delivered to the Yan State Air Force for use. By then, the sky of Yan State will usher in a powerful air force to safeguard the country's security. After the J-10 fighter jet test was completed, Lin Chenran followed the Yan State military convoy to leave Chengfei Military Industry Company. Then, Mr. Wen asked Lin Chenran, who was sitting aside and preparing to sleep, "What do you think of the J-10 fighter jet?" Lin Chenran had just felt a little sleepy, but was dispelled by Mr. Wei without a trace. Lin Chenran opened his eyes, turned and looked at Mr. Wei beside him, frowning. "What's the matter? Mr. Wei, are you not satisfied with the third-generation fighter jet designed by Chengfei Military Industry Company, the J-10? What do you mean by satisfied or dissatisfied? I want to hear your opinion. Your 077 mechanical military factory also designs and develops a fighter jet, although it is only a second and a half generation." Mr. Wen did not say that he was dissatisfied with the J-10 fighter jet, but wanted to hear Lin Chenran's faint thoughts. Overall, the J-10 fighter is in the first echelon internationally, but it remains to be seen how far it can go. After all, it has not been compared with other countries' third generation fighters, so Lin Chenran couldn't express his opinion. It's the same as not saying anything. Old Weddy was obviously dissatisfied with Lin Chenran's answer. Does your 077 mechanical arsenal have any idea of designing and developing a third generation fighter? Since he didn't get an answer from Lin Chenran, Old Weddy immediately changed the subject. Yes, there is, but if you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 210. Want an aircraft carrier? Can't walk yet? Take off first. 077 Machinery Arsenal does have a third generation fighter design and development project, but it currently faces a significant decision-making dilemma. They're struggling with whether to develop a third generation fighter from scratch or to modify the Dragon Shadow fighter to bring its performance up to par with a third generation fighter and develop a version suitable for use by other branches of the military. We're undecided right now whether to modify the existing model or design an entirely new third generation fighter from scratch. Lin Chenran held out his hands and waved them away helplessly, expressing his dilemma. Upon hearing this, Elder Weddy launched into a scathing scolding. You kid, you're still complaining? In fact, the Dragon Shadow fighter's outstanding performance has already attracted widespread international attention. Many countries have expressed strong interest in this fighter and are interested in contacting Yan state officials with the intention of acquiring it. The Dragon Shadow fighter's superior performance has also surprised the Yan state military. This was particularly evident when 4 Pakistani Dragon Shadow fighters recently demonstrated their formidable prowess in a confrontation with 4 White Elephant fighters, easily crushing their opponents. This incident has brought significant publicity to the Dragon Shadow fighter, further enhancing its reputation and influence. Mr. Weddy, it's not that our 077 machinery and military factory dislikes it, but developing a new version based on the Dragon Shadow fighter will be subject to certain restrictions from Pakistan. Pakistan has invested massive amounts of money in the Dragon Shadow fighter project, and the 077 machinery and military factory can't simply bypass them. Upgrading and modifying the Dragon Shadow fighter is impossible unless Pakistan is given sufficient benefits. Between countries, only interests matter. Don't talk about allies. Even the most reliable alliances are fake. Even with huge benefits, the other side will reap your wealth. Right. Eagle Source. Allies? They are meant to be betrayed. If there's a 10% profit, it's guaranteed to be used everywhere. With a 20% profit, it's active. With a 50% profit, it's desperate. With a 300% profit, it dares to commit any crime, even risking death by hanging. Lin Chenran's words made Mr. Weddy hesitate. He had forgotten that Pakistan was part of the Dragon Shadow fighter project. Then you, the 077 mechanical arsenal, make the decision yourself. If you really develop a third generation fighter, you can only sell the export version. Old Weddy gave Lin Chenran a slight reminder. Don't sell all the good stuff to other countries, while the weapons and equipment used by your own army are still relatively backward. But Old Weddy didn't say this because he knew that Lin Chenran would definitely have something to fight back. Who made the Yan country's military expenditure relatively small. Then, Old Weddy brought Lin Chenran another news. Lin boy, the superiors have agreed to the idea of the Arctic route you proposed before. When will you go north to the Russians to negotiate with them? No news of the Arctic route idea was passed down before, because the domestic interests in it had not been distributed in place. But now the domestic interests have been distributed in place. Let Old Weddy connect with Lin Chenran. Old Weddy, I thought you didn't want to develop this Arctic route. Lin Chenran hesitated at first when he heard this, and then smiled bitterly. Lin Chenran mentally decided it was time to travel north to Russia to discuss the Arctic Passage. Winter was just a few months away. This time, after I return to the 077 mechanical arsenal, I'll take care of some matters and then head north to Russia. Lin Chenran directly outlined the upcoming arrangements. Elder Weddy's lip curled at this. This time, official members will accompany you north to Russia. Then, the stakes of the proposed Arctic Passage were enormous. so high that it could improve relations between Yan and Russia. The Eagle source had begun to, consciously or unconsciously, become wary of Yan. Yan's top brass also considered the benefits of the Arctic Passage and aimed to improve their strained relationship with Russia. There are no permanent enemies or friends in this world. Lin Chenran was momentarily surprised to hear this. Hearing this, he actually had official members accompanying him north to Russia. Lin, you can talk to your allies and ask them to get a share, but ultimately, it's the national level that's going to take care of it. Elder Wendy didn't mind Lin Chenran's allies among Russia getting a share of the Arctic Passage. This will better maintain relations. Don't worry, Mr. Wendy, I'll keep it secret. The Arctic route also requires the contribution of Russia's Far East Fleet. When you go to Russia, see if you can seize the Variag from them. For the sake of this book, I've moved up the timeline. According to intelligence, Russia doesn't have the capacity to build the Variag right now and wants to store it until funding becomes available. Mr. Wendy relayed the Yan Kingdom Navy's intentions. Previously, the $6 billion from Saudi Arabia in the Camel region had already entered the Yan Kingdom military's pocket and been distributed. This time, the Yan Kingdom Navy also received a large sum of funds. So, the Yan Kingdom Navy wanted to make a big move and directly seize the Variag, which was about to be stored in Russia's possession. Although the Variag was an aircraft carrier, it was actually just a complete framework, and it was still a long time before it could be delivered. Upon hearing this, Lin Chenran smiled bitterly. Mr. Wendy, isn't the Navy too anxious? The Russian bear is not at its weakest now, and you want to get the Variag aircraft carrier from it? There is almost no room for maneuver. It's not that Lin Chenran doesn't want to help the Yan Kingdom Navy, but the Yan Kingdom Navy is really anxious. Now the Yan Kingdom Navy does not want an aircraft carrier, but to replenish other warships. A missile destroyer has just been commissioned. The other escorts of the aircraft carrier are not ready. An aircraft carrier becomes a live target. The Yan Kingdom Navy does not have advanced cruisers, missile frigates, supply ships, etc. These all need to be equipped. Thinking about taking off before learning to walk. Mr. Wendy, please tell the naval leaders that the Variag must be ours, but not now. The chance of getting it from the Russian bear now is 0. The Russian bear is not weak to that point yet, so we should not pluck its fur. Lin Chenran then said part of the plan. This time I'm going north to Russia, and I'll first ask Russia for a scrapped aircraft carrier to use as a theme restaurant or a patriotic park on the aircraft carrier. The reason for doing this is to paralyze the enemy. When the time is right, I will use the same method to obtain the Variag aircraft carrier from Russia at a low price. Lin Chenran's plan made Mr. Wendy praise it again and again. This plan can really be said to be flawless. Then Lin Chenran expressed his thoughts. The Navy now needs to develop other warships. The warships they have are all outdated and cannot meet the needs of modern warfare. Chapter 211. Even if we have an aircraft carrier, we can't let it be left alone. The Yan Kingdom Navy hasn't even learned to walk yet. They want to fly? Who gave them the courage? Fish Liang? An aircraft carrier formation can't be formed by just one carrier. Without the escort of other warships, an aircraft carrier would become a defenseless sitting target. The Yan Kingdom Navy was clearly anxious, even beginning to feel a little complacent. After Lin Chenran's reminder, Elder Wendy agreed that he was right. While possessing an aircraft carrier does demonstrate a country's strength, if other warships are not fully equipped, then even having an aircraft carrier will be of little use. This will not achieve the purpose of deterring the enemy. If an aircraft carrier is put to sea without other warships to escort it, it will become a sitting target that anyone can attack. If it sails farther, and without support ships to support it, the aircraft carrier may be paralyzed due to lack of fuel and supplies. For now, the Yan Kingdom Navy should focus on replenishing its other types of warships, such as frigates, cruisers, supply ships, and submarines. Investing all of our limited resources in aircraft carrier construction is not a good idea. Elder Wendy frowned, sighed deeply, and said self-reproachfully, "We've fallen into a misunderstanding. It's crazy." Seeing this, Lin Chenran quickly explained, "We will definitely have an aircraft carrier, but not now. After all, our other warships are very old and need to be updated. Even if we don't have an aircraft carrier, our other warships are advanced and can deter neighboring countries. Not many of our neighboring countries have aircraft carriers. We have enough warships to deter them without even deploying aircraft carriers. Elder Wendy also thought it made sense. They were indeed impatient. Or rather, they were getting carried away. They were thinking about getting an aircraft carrier as soon as they had the funds. Elder Wendy was very serious and said righteously, when we get back, I'll tell the senior naval officials about your idea. They're really anxious. Lin Chenran suddenly smiled bitterly. Elder Wendy, you're putting me on fire. You're still giving me advice? I hope Elder Zhang won't come to the 077 machinery arsenal with a Type 56 to trouble me. Laughter suddenly broke out from the car. No, Elder Zhang will agree with your idea. Although Elder Zhang wanted the Navy to have its own aircraft carrier, he knew that without the escort of other warships, an aircraft carrier would be a sitting duck. After returning to the 077 machinery arsenal, Lin Chenran explained to Song Xian that he would prepare to travel north to Russia. He also sent a telegram to Kovlovich in Vladivostok, stating that he would travel north to Russia to discuss important matters. Kovlovich, upon receiving the telegram, was puzzled. Discuss important matters? Could it be another direction for cooperation? Kovlovich's face suddenly broke into a bright smile. Every time Lin Chenran comes to Russia, he will increase trade. And last time, he helped me and his country to overcome the nuclear leakage crisis. This time when Lin Chenran goes north, I must give him a warm welcome. At the same time, after the news of the successful first test flight of the J-10 fighter jet spread, it directly attracted heated discussions from various countries. Another third-generation fighter jet from Yan country made its first test flight. Senior officials from various countries have mobilized. Eagle source: Yan country's military industry strength has been greatly improved. It just had the Dragon Shadow fighter jet not long ago, and now it has the J-10 fighter jet. This is a strong rival. Mao Zedong, Yan country announced a high-low matching combination before, but I didn't expect it to be realized so quickly. Now it's the first flight, and it will soon have a hunting suit unit. I didn't expect Yan country's military industry to develop so rapidly. Chicken country, how can Yan country's military industry develop so rapidly? No, the threat of the J-10 fighter jet and the Dragon Shadow fighter jet is too great. We have to purchase weapons and equipment from Eagle Source to deal with it. Cold country, what? Our great Han nation is #1 in the universe. Even the Yan nation has the ability to design and develop 2 third-generation fighter jets, so we can do the same. White elephant, damn Yan nation. We suffered a loss when we sold the Dragon Shadow fighter jet to Pakistan, and now they've developed the J-10 fighter jet. No, we must also accelerate the development of the Tejas fighter jet. We must immediately contact other countries for joint development. Immediately afterwards, intelligence personnel from various countries began to mobilize. They hadn't yet gathered enough information on the Dragon Shadow fighter jet, and now they've developed the J-10 fighter jet. This directly troubled the intelligence personnel. Especially in the Yan nation, intelligence activities were extremely difficult. One mistake and you'd be caught. Linjiang Province 077 Mechanical Arsenal. At this time, Lin Chenran was making final preparations. Kovlovich of the Far East Fleet had agreed to allow him to sail north to the Russian Bear. Lin Chenran also reported this and awaited the approval of the Yan nation's top brass. Soon, the phone on the desk rang. Ring, ring, ring. Lin Chenran expertly picked up the phone and answered it. Hello. Hello. It's Lin Chenran. Suddenly, a familiar voice rang out. Lin boy, long time no see. The voice of Mr. Zhang, a high-ranking officer of the Yan State Navy, came from the receiver. Hello, Mr. Zhang. Lin Chenran was obviously feeling guilty. He had discussed the issue of the Yan State Navy with Mr. Wendy before. Now that the real boss came to the door, Lin Chenran must be feeling guilty. Lin boy, feeling guilty? Mr. Zhang suddenly said, and instantly beads of sweat streamed down Lin Chenran's forehead. That. It was as if a lion was staring at him. Lin Chenran was panicking. Suddenly, a hearty laugh came from the microphone. You boy, what are you panicking about? I didn't say your idea was wrong. Mr. Zhang said with a smile. Lin Chenran's contact was very forward-looking and also met the current needs of the Yan State Navy. Yan State must have an aircraft carrier. But not now. Mr. Zhang agreed with what Lin Chenran said. Even the other warships in the aircraft carrier formation are not fully equipped. An aircraft carrier sailing on the sea is a living target. Lin Chenran subconsciously wiped the sweat from his forehead and said with a smile, Mr. Zhang, your powerful aura makes me feel at a loss, even through the phone. Mr. Zhang was amused by Lin Chenran. You kid. You are flattering me. How could that be? Lin Chenran and the other person laughed out loud. Then, Mr. Zhang told Lin Chenran the purpose of calling him this time. The superiors have agreed to your request to go north to the Russian Bear and have formed a temporary negotiation team. Everything will be based on you at that time. Mr. Zhang was also surprised. He didn't expect that the superiors would let Lin Chenran be the head of this temporary negotiation team. Then, Mr. Zhang continued, when the time comes, you will go directly to the imperial capital, then meet with the negotiation team, and then go north to the Russian Bear together. Chapter 212. Mr. Zhang, our navy only trusts your 077 machinery arsenal. Lin Chenran's proposed Arctic route plan benefited the Lin family. His family was even more valued. No problem, I'll go to the northern capital after I've finished handling all the company's affairs. Lin Chenran replied with a smile. Our navy wants to hold a bidding conference for frigates and cruisers. You, the 704 shipyard, should come with your design proposals then. The meeting will be in about a month and a half. Elder Zhang announced the news directly to Lin Chenran. This was considered informing Lin Chenran in advance. This would give the 704 shipyard a head start. Thank you, Elder Zhang. Lin Chenran was instantly excited upon hearing this. This directly fed the 704 shipyard, giving it a greater chance of receiving an order from the Yan Kingdom Navy. Lin, we will announce this news in a week. Although he favored the 704 shipyard, he couldn't completely side with it. He also had to give other domestic shipyards some opportunities. He couldn't let all the domestic shipyards go bankrupt. If they all went bankrupt, the consequences would be disastrous. Lin, I'm very optimistic about your 704 shipyard. The previous Aegis missile destroyers performed exceptionally well, giving us ample confidence when facing warships from other countries. I hope you can continue to work hard and design and develop even more advanced cruisers and frigates. Old Zhang had high hopes for the 704 shipyard. The previous Aegis missile destroyers were a huge hit with the Yan Kingdom's naval brass. Their powerful capabilities and impeccable design made them their dream ships. Don't worry, Old Zhang, we will continue to work hard and design and develop warships more suitable for the navy. Lin Chenran replied affirmatively, patting his chest. The Yan Kingdom's naval brass recognized the strength of their own 704 shipyard, so they couldn't afford to let their reputation down. They had to offer the Yan Kingdom Navy some serious advice and build even more advanced warships. Old Zhang continued, we'd also like to ask your 077 machinery arsenal to help our navy design and develop a fighter jet capable of deploying on ships. His eyes were firm, as if he had already seen the future. Although we don't have an aircraft carrier yet, we must prepare carrier-based aircraft for future ones. His voice was filled with determination. When the time you mentioned is ripe, and we acquire an aircraft carrier, the carrier-based aircraft can be deployed quickly. We'd rather wait for the aircraft carrier than wait for the aircraft. After we acquire it, the Yan Kingdom Navy was determined to be fully prepared, paving the way for future aircraft carriers by first getting the carrier-based aircraft ready. They could let the aircraft wait for the carrier, not let the carrier wait for the aircraft. What? The design and development of the carrier-based aircraft will be entrusted to us at the 077 machinery arsenal? Lin Chenran was filled with excitement at the news. Mr. Zhang, is that true? His voice was filled with surprise, his voice filled with disbelief. Designing and developing carrier-based aircraft for aircraft carriers is even more difficult than designing and developing aircraft for land-based aircraft, with more and more complex factors to consider. It requires not only profound technical expertise, but also a deep understanding of the unique requirements of carrier-based aircraft. The Yan Kingdom Navy had unexpectedly entrusted such an important task to the 077 machinery arsenal, a clear sign of their trust and recognition. Lin Chenran was both surprised and terrified. The surprise was that this was a rare opportunity to demonstrate the strength of the 077 mechanical arsenal. That terrified him was that this task was extremely difficult and the responsibility was heavy. When Mr. Zhang heard Lin Chenran's tone, he smiled secretly in his heart and directly used the method of provoking him. Lin boy, your 077 mechanical arsenal can't be incapable of designing and developing a third generation carrier based fighter, right? He deliberately spoke in a skeptical tone, trying to arouse Lin Chenran's fighting spirit. Upon hearing this, Lin Chenran instantly understood the other party's thoughts, and he immediately responded, how could it be? Our 077 mechanical arsenal is very powerful. A mere carrier-based aircraft is a piece of cake for us. He was full of confidence. Designing and developing a third-generation carrier-based fighter? Simple. Questioning the strength of the 077 mechanical arsenal? This is no different from questioning a man's endurance. In fact, the 077 mechanical arsenal does have such strength. Whether it's upgrading the existing Lang fighter jet, or designing and developing an entirely new third-generation fighter jet, the 077 machinery and military factory can handle it with ease. In that case, I'll leave the development of our Navy's carrier-based aircraft to you, the 077 machinery and military factory. Old Zhang smiled with satisfaction, expressing his confidence in Lin Chenran and the 077 machinery and military factory's capabilities. I hope you can design and develop a high-performance third-generation carrier-based aircraft for our Navy, Old Zhang said with a serious face. Lin Chenran promised Old Zhang in a very firm tone, no problem. Mr. Zhang, please rest assured, we will do our best to design a high-performance third-generation carrier-based aircraft for the Navy. When Old Zhang heard Lin Chenran's straightforward agreement, the heavy stone hanging in his heart finally fell to the ground. The 077 machinery and military factory has demonstrated outstanding capabilities in fighter jet design and development, which has been widely recognized and praised by the Yan Kingdom Navy. They are now only willing to trust the design and development capabilities of the 077 machinery and military factory, and do not trust the strength of other third-tier aircraft military factories. Even the Chengfei Military Industry Company, that designed and developed the J-10 fighter jet, in the minds of the high-ranking officers of the Yan Kingdom Navy, they were all inferior to the 077 mechanical arsenal. It was the research and development capabilities of the 077 mechanical arsenal that conquered the high-ranking officers of the Yan Kingdom Navy. Then, after chatting for a while, Lin Chenran and the other person hung up the phone. Lin Chenran asked his assistant Zhao Liang to notify Song Xian to come to his office. Shortly afterwards, Song Xian hurried to Lin Chenran's office. Assistant Zhao Liang brought 2 cups of hot tea to the two of them. Mr. Song, the superiors have agreed that I can go north to Russia to negotiate with the other party about the Arctic route. From now on, I will leave all the matters of the factory to you to help me check. Lin Chenran said directly to the point. Are you sure? Lin Chenran had told himself and the 077 mechanical arsenal before that he would go north to Russia to discuss matters related to the Arctic route. But the time was uncertain. And now the time is finally set. Well, I'll pack up. I'll probably take a plane to the capital in the next few days to meet up with the negotiation team, and then we'll go north to the Russian Bear together. Lin Chenran blew gently on the teacup in his hand and drank it elegantly. Chenran, don't worry, I'm here. Song Xian replied calmly. This is not something he has never experienced before. Every time Lin Chenran is going abroad or is not in the factory, it is him, Song Xian, who presides over the overall situation of the 077 mechanical arsenal. Mr. Song, I feel at ease with you here. There is one more thing. The Navy hopes that our 077 mechanical arsenal will help design and develop a third-generation carrier-based aircraft. Lin Chenran said very calmly. What third-generation carrier-based aircraft? Chapter 213 Situ Hua. The Navy needs a third-generation carrier-based aircraft for subsequent aircraft carriers, and they have given the task to our 077 machinery arsenal. Lin Chenran said with a smile. Really? Song Xian asked excitedly. The Yan Kingdom Navy's aircraft carrier-based aircraft will be designed and developed by our 077 machinery arsenal. His face was filled with excitement that was difficult to conceal. This is undoubtedly a supreme honor. Normally, this type of carrier-based aircraft is often designed and developed by established military-industrial enterprises such as Chengfei or Shenfei. They have a long-term cooperative relationship with the Yan Kingdom military and are well aware of the military's needs. However, now that the Yan Kingdom Navy has given such an important task to the 077 machinery arsenal, it fully demonstrates that in the eyes of the top naval leaders, the status of the 077 machinery arsenal has surpassed Shenfei and Chengfei. Mr. Song, when the time comes, you can discuss with Mr. Meng to see whether to upgrade and transform the Langying fighter or develop a brand new third-generation fighter. Lin Chenran delegated the decision-making power to his own fighter design and development team without hesitation. No problem, we will discuss it with Liu Meng when the time comes, and we will definitely give the Yan Kingdom Navy a satisfactory plan. Song Xian said very confidently. Designing the first carrier-based aircraft will be recorded in the milestone of the Yan Kingdom Navy. This cannot be sloppy. After Lin Chenran arranged everything, he led several people from the 077 mechanical arsenal to the north to the imperial capital to prepare to meet with the negotiation team. When they just stepped out of the imperial capital airport, they unexpectedly found that someone was there to pick them up. Not long after, a car slowly drove up, picked up Lin Chenran and others, and took them to a yard. This yard was the temporary residence of the temporary negotiation team. After entering the yard, Lin Chenran finally met the deputy head of the temporary negotiation team, Situ Hua. Mr. Hua, it's really unexpected that you are leading the team in person. Lin Chenran felt both surprised and honored, and hurried to greet him. Haha, Lin boy, we haven't seen each other for a long time. Situ Hua also responded enthusiastically. As a second-generation diplomat of Yan country, Situ Hua once had a brilliant experience on the international stage. As he grew older, he was transferred back to China to take up an important position. His superiors had never told him who the deputy head of the temporary negotiation team would be. So Lin Chenran didn't know that it was Situ Hua who would lead the team. Previously, Lin Chenran made a trivial suggestion to the top leaders of Yan country. This suggestion was to find a group of negotiators who were good at drinking and had an extraordinary alcohol tolerance. It would be best to find those who could drink 1,000 cups without getting drunk and drink white wine as if it were boiled water, and let them join the negotiation team. If you don't have enough alcohol tolerance to negotiate with the Russian bear, the consequences will be disastrous. In the Russian bear's culture, only by defeating the opponent at the drinking table can you take the initiative. Otherwise, you can only wait for the other party to take control of the situation. Lin Chenran specifically reminded the top leaders of Yan country to select those staff members who can drink and drink very well to join the negotiation team. Although Lin Chenran himself is a person who can drink 1,000 cups without getting drunk, he also needs to pay attention to health preservation. Lin, we've prepared everything exactly as you requested. These are the elite of the elite. We've already excluded those who can't hold their liquor. Situ Hua jokingly told Lin Chenran. When going to negotiate with Russia, it's essential to bring a group of negotiators who can drink. Otherwise, they risk being put on the defensive and being manipulated by Russia. Remember, the White Elephant Kingdom suffered a loss during a drinking spree, causing the price of their weapons and equipment to double. Mr. Hua, the Russians are known for their drinking. To them, a bottle of vodka might just be enough to rinse their mouths. We must be fully prepared beforehand. Otherwise, if we get drunk and sign a contract without thinking, we'll be in big trouble. We'll be the scapegoats of our country. The Arctic route is crucial to the country's future development. It's no small matter. Securing greater benefits from it would benefit the entire country. Just like the Suez Canal, its owner is profiting from it. It directly made others envious and jealous. Don't worry, Lin, I've made arrangements in advance. I've specially found a wine god who can drink 1,000 cups without getting drunk. This guy drinks white wine like it's plain water. There will be no problem. Situ Hua assured Lin Chenran confidently. He was well aware of the importance and seriousness of this matter. Please, everyone, I have applied to the higher-ups for a generous bonus. As long as you return victorious from the Russian bear, you can receive this bonus. Lin Chenran said to everyone with a smile. Then, he loudly announced, so, please do your best to win glory for the country. Upon hearing this news, cheers and applause suddenly rang out in the conference room. "Thank you, President Lin," someone shouted excitedly. "Long live." Others shouted excitedly. No one had expected that this overseas mission would not only contribute to the country, but also come with an additional bonus. This made everyone extremely excited and looking forward to it. Lin Chenran smiled and waved his hand, signaling silence. He continued, "Of course, this mission isn't easy either. Our motherland needs your stomachs. When we go to Russia, at the banquet, everyone should drink as much as they can and try to get them drunk. Remember, the more you drink, the better it will be for our subsequent negotiations. So, please." He reiterated the importance of this mission and encouraged everyone to forge ahead bravely and not be afraid of any difficulties. "Yes, Mr. Lin, don't worry." Everyone responded in unison. This was a rare opportunity to go abroad, and the mission didn't seem difficult. Naturally, they would give their all to ensure its successful completion. Upon completion, they would also receive a generous bonus. It was a win-win situation. Finally, Lin Chenran had Situ Hua dismiss everyone so that they could go back and rest, recharge their batteries, and fully prepare for the upcoming mission. Then, Lin Chenran invited Situ Hua to the conference room. "Lin, you will lead the negotiations on the Arctic route. I'll just be watching behind you and offering you advice," Situ Hua said slowly. In fact, when he first heard the decision of his superiors, he was also surprised. Generally speaking, such negotiations should be conducted by them. As far as he knew, Lin Chenran had never experienced such a large-scale negotiation. Would it work? However, the superiors unanimously decided to let Lin Chenran be the head of the negotiation team and preside over the entire Arctic Passage negotiations. Chapter 214, 210 Bringing a temporary negotiation team north to the Bear. Since that was the case, and since the higher-ups had decided to let Lin Chenran lead the negotiations on the Arctic route, he couldn't say much. Situ Hua could only teach Lin Chenran some negotiation techniques, allowing him to gain a certain degree of control in the upcoming negotiations. Lin Chenran listened quietly. Situ Hua began to teach Lin Chenran some key negotiation points. First, we must be clear about our bottom line and goals, and not give in easily. Second, we must be good at listening to the other party's opinions and needs and find win-win solutions. At the same time, we must remain calm and rational, and not be swayed by emotions. Finally, we must have sufficient patience and perseverance. Negotiations may take a long time, and we cannot rush for results. Lin Chenran listened carefully, taking these valuable lessons to heart. Over the next few days, Lin Chenran and Situ Hua intensively studied the negotiation materials. With everything ready, Lin Chenran led the group on their journey north to the Russian Bear. Their first stop was Vladivostok. After several days of driving, Lin Chenran finally arrived at the border between Yan State and the Russian Bear. After strict inspections by both sides, he officially stepped into the territory of the Russian Bear. However, this time, unlike in the past, he did not need to rent a car to reach his destination. The staff of the 077 Mechanical Armament Factory had made arrangements early in the morning. They arranged for a vehicle to wait for the arrival of Lin Chenran and others at the border of the Russian Bear. Lin Chenran and others quickly got into the car, the engine roared, and the car sped away. Situ Hua smiled slightly and said with emotion, "Lin boy, I really didn't expect that your 077 Mechanical Armament Factory would become so big in the Russian Bear." Although he had heard that the 077 Mechanical Armament Factory was engaged in the trade of arbitrage in the Russian Bear, he had never imagined that the scale would be so large. "It's just some small business, nothing big," Lin Chenran replied with a casual look. Situ Hua obviously did not believe him. Just now, they had witnessed with their own eyes that the chief officer at the Russian Bear border was respectful to Lin Chenran, as if he regarded him as a living god of wealth. This kind of treatment is definitely not something that an ordinary small business can bring. The car of the 077 Mechanical Arsenal drove directly into the border checkpoint of the Russian Bear and then stopped there steadily waiting for Lin Chenran's arrival. This checkpoint is full of benefits, and the benefits they receive are not small. Otherwise, how could the 077 Mechanical Arsenal be allowed to be so unscrupulous? Situ Hua instantly became very confident about the upcoming negotiations. At the beginning, he was still uneasy, but now his whole mood is different. After a day's drive, the dusty Lin Chenran and others finally arrived in Vladivostok. This time, Lin Chenran and others did not stay back in the original hotel. The main reason was that Lin Chenran brought too many people this time. Lin Chenran and others stayed in the stronghold of the 077 mechanical arsenal in the Russian Bear. Everyone has worked hard along the way. We have arranged accommodation for everyone. Have a good rest. There is a tough battle waiting for everyone next. Everyone should conserve their energy to meet the challenge. Lin Chenran said to the members of the temporary negotiation team very seriously, and arranged for the members of the 077 mechanical arsenal, Russian Bear, to take the temporary negotiation team to a resting place. Everyone left one after another. Everyone's face showed obvious fatigue. So Lin Chenran asked them to go back and rest first. Lin Chenran, led by the staff of the 077 mechanical arsenal, came to the conference room with Situ Hua. Situ Hua followed Lin Chenran with a smile. Lin Chenran felt a chill on his back all the way. Mr. Hua, why are you following me all the time? Lin Chenran immediately turned around and walked to Situ Hua and walked parallel to him. Situ Hua smiled and said, I had already looked up to your 077 mechanical arsenal when I was at the checkpoint, but I didn't expect to underestimate it. Your 077 mechanical arsenal's business in Russia is much bigger than I thought. Lin Chenran answered mysteriously, it's just a small business. After arriving at the conference room, Lin Chenran asked the staff of the 077 mechanical arsenal to bring him and Situ Hua a cup of hot tea. Mr. Hua, I'll contact Kavlovich from the Far East Fleet and invite him out for a drink. Lin Chenran got straight to the point and gave Situ Hua instructions. What? You're going to contact Kavlovich directly? Situ Hua was completely surprised. Situ Hua knew Kavlovich, of course. He was now the deputy commander of the Far East Fleet. He had risen rapidly from deputy chief of staff to deputy commander. Situ Hua really didn't expect Lin Chenran to directly invite Kavlovich out for a drink. Mr. Hua, calm down. Kavlovich is just the liaison officer. Lin Chenran was delighted. Mr. Hua, you must be shocked. Situ Hua, I'm not calm. No wonder the superiors asked you to lead the negotiations on the Arctic route. I couldn't figure it out before, but now I understand. It turns out that your 077 machinery arsenal has already spread such a large network of interests in the Russian Bear. Even the deputy commander of the Far East Fleet is only in the middle level of this network of interests. How could Situ Hua not look at him sideways? Situ Hua continued, the big stone hanging in my heart has finally been put down. Lin boy, you don't even need me to help you. You can solve all the problems by yourself. Situ Hua shook his head with a wry smile. No, no, no. Mr. Hua, you can't just slack off. I'm very young, and I still need your advice on some big scenes. Seeing that Situ Hua wanted to play dirty, Lin Chenran hurriedly stepped forward to stop him. Lin Chenran thought to himself, if you play dirty, won't my work increase? How can I let you have it so easy? Situ Hua didn't know what to say for a moment, and raised a hand to point at Lin Chenran. Don't worry, there are many matters coming up, and I have no experience. I need you to make the decision for me. You are the best diplomat of our Yang country. I'm counting on you to show your prowess and directly kill through the Russian Bear. In order to stabilize Situ Hua to help him work, Lin Chenran directly used sweet words on the other party. Listening to Lin Chenran's praise, Situ Hua's mouth corners slightly raised, and his face flushed slightly. Situ Hua, Lin boy, you are good at talking, talk more. Then Lin Chenran told Situ Hua about the connection between his own 077 machinery and military factory and some of the top leaders of the Russian Bear. Situ Hua was filled with emotion. With this kind of help, it is no wonder that the 077 machinery and military factory can flourish in the Russian Bear. The benefits of the Arctic route are huge, and Lin Chenran wanted to distribute part of the benefits to everyone in this interest network. Let them get greater benefits, then it will be more beneficial to the 077 machinery and military factory. What? Lin Chenran has come to Vladivostok? Chapter 215, a scrapped aircraft carrier? It can be sold. Earlier, while in Yan country, Lin Chenran had telegraphed Kavlovich, informing him that he was about to embark on his journey to the northern Russian Bear. Kavlovich had never expected Lin Chenran to arrive so quickly. If the border checkpoint officer hadn't promptly informed Kavlovich, he might still have believed that Lin Chenran was still struggling on the road. At this moment, Dio-chan was on horseback, on her way. Upon hearing the news, Kavlovich immediately called his superior, Leo Gago, and urgently informed him, Lin Chenran has arrived in Vladivostok. Leo Gago replied briefly, got it, and hung up. Meanwhile, Lin Chenran and Situ Hua had a long conversation in the conference room, both expressing their satisfaction with each other's ideas. They happily retired to their rooms to rest. The long journey had exhausted them all. Situ Hua, in particular, found the continuous long-distance travel somewhat difficult due to his advanced age. Lin Chenran noticed that Situ Hua was struggling to hold on, so he took the initiative to say that he was very tired and needed a good rest. Situ Hua was able to go with the flow. Lin Chenran, what a naughty old boy. This time, Lin Chenran was not in a hurry to find Kavlovich. This time, Chuncheon made the forces behind Kavlovich profit, so Lin Chenran was not in a hurry. The next evening, Kavlovich was pacing in his office. Why didn't Lin Chenran contact him to go out for a drink and talk when he came to Maoziang? Was there something wrong? Kavlovich made a lot of money from the trade route between Yan country and Maoziang. He also made a lot of money by helping the 077 machinery and military factory purchase the necessary weapons, equipment, and production lines. He didn't want to lose such a high quality partner. Kavlovich muttered to himself, never mind. Then Kavlovich picked up the phone on the desk and dialed. That's right. He dialed the number of the 077 machinery and military factory in Maoziang's stronghold, inviting Lin Chenran to go to the Red Romantic Tavern for a drink in the evening. Soon, the staff of the 077 mechanical arsenal reported the situation to Lin Chenran. Late at night, Kavlovich arrived at the Red Romance Tavern ahead of time, anxiously waiting for Lin Chenran's arrival. At the same time, Lin Chenran and Situ Hua also set out on the road to the Red Romance Tavern. The other members of the negotiation team chose to stay in the hotel to rest, because it was not time for them to appear yet, and the upcoming banquet would be the stage for them to show their strength. When Lin Chenran arrived at the Red Romance Tavern, he carefully observed the surrounding environment, and then his eyes locked on Kavlovich sitting in the corner. Then, he walked over with firm steps, and greeted the other party enthusiastically. Kavlovich, we haven't seen each other for a long time. Hearing this familiar voice, Kavlovich immediately turned around, and seeing Lin Chenran with a smile on his face, he quickly stood up from his seat, and went up to greet Lin Chenran. Lin, you are very welcome to visit the Bear Country. Kavlovich kindly pulled Lin Chenran to sit down, and told the waiter to give each of them a bottle of vodka. For men, alcohol is the best way to enhance friendship. After a few drinks, the strangeness between the two disappeared in an instant. Kavlovich asked directly, Lin, what exactly are you doing in our country? He knew very well that Lin Chenran was a man who would not give up until he saw the rabbit. This could be seen from the previous transaction. I have a few things I want to discuss with you. Good things. Lin Chenran said with a smile. Oh, good things? Kavlovich's eyes lit up when he heard it, and the corners of his mouth rose slightly unconsciously. He thought to himself, okay. It seems that it's a big deal. He knew that for Lin Chenran to make this trip to the Bear Country in person, it must not be an ordinary small matter, it must be a big deal. The two raised their glasses and drank, and soon drank the vodka in their hands. Afterwards, they walked shoulder to shoulder, leaving the bustling Red Romance Tavern together, and headed towards Kavlovich's mysterious and secluded private residence. This place was cleverly hidden, and only a few people knew its exact location, making it extremely secure. After entering the house, Kavlovich signaled the servants to bring everyone a cup of steaming hot tea to dispel the cold. After everyone sat down, Kavlovich could no longer suppress his curiosity, and asked directly again, Lin, can you tell me now? He couldn't wait to know the real purpose of Lin Chenran's visit to the Bear Country this time. Curiosity had reached its peak, as if it was about to burst out of his eyes. Lin Chenran smiled slightly, knowing that the prey had been hooked, and he said calmly, Kavlovich, I want your country's scrapped aircraft carrier. Kavlovich was puzzled when he heard this. A scrapped aircraft carrier? What's the use? Melting it down like before. Or is it just to serve as a bridge to your military? Suddenly, many thoughts raced through Kavlovich's mind. If it was just melted down to produce molten iron, then Lin Chenran wouldn't have to make this trip. Could it be? Lin Chenran, standing by, shook his head, dismissing Kavlovich's idea outright. No, 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 I want to build an aircraft carrier theme park, not ask for one for our country's military. If you really want an aircraft carrier, I'll just ask you for one that's under construction or in storage. Why would you want an old, scrapped one? Lin Chenran's sincere gaze instantly dispelled Kavlovich's doubts. Indeed, if the Yan state military wanted an aircraft carrier, they could simply purchase a finished one or one that's under construction. An old, scrapped World War II aircraft carrier wouldn't meet their performance requirements. With that kind of time and energy, it would be better to just buy a brand new one. After thinking for a moment, Kavlovich agreed directly. Lin, if it were anyone else, I would refuse without hesitation. You know, although the aircraft carrier is scrapped, outdated, it is also a secret of our country. But if you want, I can relax the conditions. After all, we are friends. Kavlovich emphasized friends. That is to maximize the benefits. He wants to get more benefits from Lin Chenran. Thanks to Kavlovich's support, I think my aircraft carrier theme park can open. Lin Chenran thanked him repeatedly. Then, Lin Chenran directly stated the purpose of this trip. What? Lin, did I hear correctly? Kavlovich looked at the smiling Lin Chenran with an incredulous look on his face. Chapter 216 Dory, who made you my friend? Kavlovich stared in astonishment at the remarkably calm Lin Chenran before him, his heart filled with indescribable excitement and thrill. He thought to himself, Lin, you truly are my good brother. We are fortunate to be part of such a huge road to wealth. Whenever Lin Chenran visited the Bear Country, he always brought surprising deals. Fortunately, Kavlovich had not previously refused the other party's request to purchase the scrapped aircraft carrier. Otherwise, how could such a huge business opportunity have come to them, and how could the forces behind them have seized it? Lin, is this true? Kavlovich asked cautiously, his whole body trembling, his voice trembling with a noticeable tremor. He felt as if everything was dreamlike, unreal. After all, the stakes involved were simply too enormous. Any party could easily reap huge profits. It would be enough to make Kavlovich and the forces behind him well-fed. More importantly, this was not a one-time transaction, but a continuous source of income, highly sustainable. Kavlovich, if it wasn't absolutely certain, why would I have come all the way to Russia? Lin Chenran raised the corners of his mouth slightly, revealing an unfathomable smile. This? Kavlovich widened his eyes, his face full of shock and joy, and for a moment he was a little incoherent. Lin, you are really my best friend. Kavlovich held Lin Chenran's hand tightly, his eyes flashing with gratitude. The opening of this Arctic route will bring him huge benefits. Not only will his wealth grow rapidly, but it may also lead to a promotion in his position. Kavlovich, Davary, you are my best friend in Russia and our best partner. If there is a way to make money, I will definitely think of you first. Between friends, there is no need for many words. Lin Chenran said proudly, his face full of confidence and determination. At this moment, Kavlovich seemed to see golden rays of light shining on the other party. Yes, we are friends. Kavlovich repeated in a low voice, his heart full of expectations and longings for the future. Situhua, who was standing aside, watched this scene. His lips curled up slightly. He shook his head gently, his heart full of admiration. He thought to himself, that Lin brat is truly remarkable. He seized upon Kavlovich's weakness and brought him completely under his control. Lin Chenran continued, let your Far East fleet lead this Arctic route. The opening of the Arctic route is a perfect omen. Lin Chenran said with a broad smile. First, for me, it will yield a vast wealth and resources. Secondly, for our Yan nation, it will enhance our national economic strength and international influence. Thirdly, for your Far East fleet, it will not only enhance its military standing, but also increase its revenue. Finally, for you Russians, the benefits are numerous. The opening of the Arctic route is truly a win-win situation for everyone. Kavlovich nodded excitedly in agreement. That's right. This is truly a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, especially for our Far East fleet. This will be a major opportunity. Lin Chenran continued, furthermore, the opening of the Arctic route is highly feasible. He emphasized the word feasible, and Kavlovich, standing beside him, instantly understood. The greed in his eyes grew even stronger. Lin Chenran then outlined part of his plan for the Arctic route. At that time, we will provide some of the large icebreakers, your Far East fleet will provide some of the icebreakers, and our Yan state government will be responsible for diverting and recruiting ships to pass through the Arctic route. The benefits will be shared equally by everyone. In this way, we can achieve win-win results and common development. After hearing this, Kavlovich's face flushed with excitement, his eyes gleaming with greed, as if he had already seen countless amounts of money pouring into his pocket. He nodded repeatedly, expressing his full agreement with Lin Chenran's proposal and his willingness to fully support the project. As for how to divert water and attract large ships to pass through the Arctic route, Lin Chenran did not disclose it. He also did not disclose how to design the Arctic route. This is confidential. Kavlovich heard the most critical moment, but Lin Chenran actually continued to speak. This aroused all Kavlovich's inner sincerity. He thought to himself, this Lin Chenran is such a cunning guy, how could he stop at the critical moment? I really want to know what his plan is. Seeing this, Lin Chenran was very satisfied with Kavlovich's performance and secretly rejoiced. You want a complete plan? Then wait until we sign the contract. We'll lead the planning, and you'll be responsible for the work and collecting the payment. Lin Chenran raised his left hand, glanced at his watch, and said with a smile, Kavlovich, it's getting late. We won't disturb your rest. We'll go back first. I'll be in Russia for about 2 weeks. This was the time Kavlovich had to report to the forces behind him and issue a final ultimatum. Lin Chenran was not afraid that Russia would ignore him and Yan country and pursue the Arctic route on its own. It's not like they haven't done it before. They're still working on it. But the number of large ships passing through is very small, and they can only make a small profit. Moreover, with autumn approaching, the Arctic route will freeze rapidly, and the ice is so thick that large ships cannot pass through without the escort of icebreakers. Kavlovich was instantly anxious when he heard this. He also wanted to ask Lin Chenran to stay and continue discussing the Arctic route. Lin Chenran hadn't expected to be so anxious to return. This immediately disrupted Kavlovich's plans. Lin, there's no need to rush back. You've just arrived in Russia, and I haven't even done my best to be a good host. I have plenty of guest rooms for you to rest, Kavlovich said anxiously. No, I'd better get back. I have a mountain of paperwork waiting for me to process. Lin Chenran quickly stood up, repeatedly refusing Kavlovich's kindness. Seeing this, Kavlovich couldn't resist any further and stood up to see his god of wealth off. Kavlovich watched Lin Chenran's car disappear from his sight, then returned to his office and picked up the phone on his desk to dial. Captain Gago, are you free now? I have something important to report to you, Kavlovich said with a serious and respectful expression after the call was connected. You came. I haven't rested yet, Leo Gago replied calmly. Immediately afterwards, Kavlovich and Leo Gago hung up on each other. Kavlovich asked his assistant to arrange a car. He was going back to the Far East Fleet. When he arrived at the Far East Fleet commander's office, Kavlovich directly told the other party what he had discussed with Lin Chenran. What? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 217 Report to the Superiors. After Kavlovich came to Leo Gago's office, he revealed the content of the negotiation with Lin Chenran. As Leo Gago listened, a look of shock gradually appeared on his face. What? Cooperation on the Arctic route? And it's an Arctic route that is open all year round. Leo Gago couldn't help but take a breath, frightened by Lin Chenran's grand blueprint. After being shocked, he quickly calmed down and began to think about the feasibility of this plan. The more Leo Gago thought about it, the more feasible it seemed. If the Arctic route can really be open all year round, it will definitely be an achievement that will attract worldwide attention. and Lin Chenran was very smart to let their Far East fleet be one of the executors, so that the feasibility becomes extremely great. Leo Gaggo suppressed his inner greed and calmly looked at Kavlovich. Kavlovich, what do you think of this? Kavlovich breathed a sigh of relief. He had seen the greed in Leo Gaggo's eyes and knew his superior was tempted, but he feigned composure. So, he said, General Gaggo, I think this is worth a try. Although Lin Chenran didn't reveal all the details of the plan, his description suggests it's a plan with great potential. Most importantly, we have great feasibility. Kavlovich smiled mysteriously. Leo Gaggo instantly understood. Indeed, the feasibility was enormous. Kavlovich, next you will discuss the details of the cooperation with Lin Chenran and the benefits we will gain from it. I will report to the capital later and have the senior leadership consider the pros and cons. Seeing his subordinates' confidence in the project, Leo Gaggo also felt confident. The Arctic route had always been open, but the profits earned by the Russians were very slim. This is primarily due to the powerful deterrent power of Russia and various restrictions imposed by Western countries. More importantly, the Arctic route is uncertain and its safety is not guaranteed. Ice blocks can occur at any time. While the Suez Canal is expensive to cross, it is relatively safe. This is why other large cargo ships prefer the Suez Canal over the Arctic route. Safety is paramount. A large cargo ship carries cargo worth millions, sometimes tens of millions. Ship owners would certainly not take such risks. If the Arctic route were planned and icebreakers cleared the way, safety would be greatly improved. Large cargo ships would then choose the Arctic route over the Suez Canal. Everyone knows that passing large cargo ships through the Suez Canal is extremely difficult. Each passage requires extreme caution, and a single misstep could cause a jam, blocking the entire canal. Leo Gaggo contemplated the immense wealth he might gain in the future, his heart filled with anticipation and excitement. He imagined countless green dollar bills flying into his pocket like birds, their wings brimming with green, making his wealth grow. This idea made him extremely excited, and he even couldn't wait to take action. Kavlovich responded with a smile. Yes, General Gaggo, I will first discuss the relevant matters with Lin Chenran, and wait for the capital to send a professional negotiation team. Although Kavlovich and Lin Chenran had already discussed the issue of the Arctic route, this only involved a general situation. The specific distribution of interests still needs to wait for someone from the capital to be determined. Kavlovich left the office of the commander of the Far East Fleet, leaving Leo Gaggo eagerly reporting important information about the Arctic route to his superiors, and then reporting it to the capital. Leo Gaggo anxiously awaited feedback from the Russian capital. At the same time, Lin Chenran, who returned to the Russian base at the 077 mechanical arsenal from Kavlovich's private residence, discussed with Situhua. Situhua gave a thumbs up and offered praise. Lin, I don't think I need to intervene. You can easily control Kavlovich. The new generation surpasses the old. Lin Chenran smiled, scratching the back of his head and saying modestly, it's just so. It's mainly because of our cooperation. Kavlovich has clearly fallen into the web of profit I've carefully crafted. He can't break free and is completely at my mercy. Continuing to gain greater benefits is Kavlovich's only way out. If the truth comes out, he can take the huge sum of money and go to another country to live in anonymity and live a carefree life. From the moment he began collaborating with Lin Chenran to wrestle his country's assets, Kavlovich embarked on a path of no return. If anyone asked Kavlovich if he regretted it, he would undoubtedly say so. There are no assumptions in life. Once a choice is made, the consequences must be borne. At this moment, Situhua gazed at the stunningly young Lin Chenran before him, lost in thought. In his eyes, Lin Chenran was undoubtedly the leader of the younger generation, unrivaled. Situhua sighed to himself. This generation of the Lin family is truly overflowing with talent. I'm truly enviable. Lin Chenran's brother was equally renowned within the Yan Kingdom's military, particularly for his outstanding performance and courage in the previous war against the Monkey Kingdom, earning him an audience and commendation from senior leaders. Lin Chenran was even more prominent in the military industry, his 077 machinery arsenal becoming the Yan Kingdom's secret weapon. Lin Chenran confidently declared, Kavlovich and the forces behind him are incredibly greedy. I simply don't believe they would be indifferent to the Arctic Passage project. This was evident from the very beginning of the collaboration. Lin Chenran refused to believe they weren't tempted. After his explanation, Situhua nodded repeatedly, agreeing with him. Although Situhua hadn't previously had much contact with Kavlovich, he had seen enough of him to discern his true nature. Now, Lin Chenran and the others could only await Kavlovich's response. The senior officials in the capital of the Russian Bear also received Leo Gago's report. This report attracted great attention from the senior officials. They quickly convened an emergency meeting to discuss the cooperation between the Arctic Route and Yan country. Arctic Route? A senior official asked in surprise. Another senior official continued, cooperation with Yan country? This is an important decision. Unimpeded access throughout the year. This means huge business opportunities and economic potential. The third senior official said excitedly. We are going to create a brand new prosperous waterway. The fourth senior official said confidently. The senior officials in the capital of the Russian Bear were shocked and excited by the news. They realized that this might be a rare opportunity. Chapter 218. Russia agrees to jointly develop the Arctic Shipping Route project and initiates negotiations. After 3 days of intense discussions, Russia's top brass finally reached a crucial consensus, jointly developing the Arctic Passage with Yan. This decision brought dual benefits. On the one hand, it eased increasingly tense relations with Yan. On the other, it increased domestic fiscal revenue, positively impacting the national economy. Russia currently faces severe internal and external challenges. Domestically, the country is experiencing instability and intensified social contradictions. The recent Chernobyl nuclear power plant leak has placed immense pressure on the nation. Without the advanced equipment provided by the 077 machinery and arsenal, such as radiation-resistant robots and high-strength radiation-resistant protective clothing, the casualties would have significantly increased, potentially triggering even more serious domestic unrest. Fortunately, the timely delivery of radiation-resistant materials from the 077 machinery and arsenal helped restore the reputation of Russia's top brass and stabilize the domestic situation to a certain extent. Of course, the current situation remains critical. Russia urgently needs a large quantity of light industrial goods to quell soaring domestic inflation. Yan, on the other hand, has made significant achievements in light industry and possesses abundant resources of these products. Cooperating with the other side on the Arctic route would ease relations between the two sides. At that time, they could also purchase large quantities of light industrial products and corresponding production lines from them. This would significantly alleviate domestic unrest. They could profit while also calming domestic instability. The Arctic route is a perfect combination of benefits for Russia. Even if the profits from the Arctic route don't meet initial expectations, easing relations with Yan country would still be a good thing. Done. The Russian leadership immediately telegraphed Leo Gago, asking him to first stabilize the Davary clan from Yan country. The negotiation team would then depart from the capital for Vladivostok. During these 3 days, Leo Gago displayed extreme anxiety and uneasiness, as if he were watching the small amount of money that was about to be in his hands suddenly disappear. He frequently inquired with his Davary allies for the latest situation, but the response he received was always that they needed to wait for further information. This was because the Russian leadership was discussing important matters regarding the Arctic route. Leo Gago hadn't waited for good news from the capital. Instead, he received startling news from his allies in the Davary clan. The top leadership had unexpectedly agreed to collaborate with Yan nation on the development of the Arctic route, designating the Far Eastern Fleet as a key execution force. This news filled Leo Gago with immense excitement. His spirits instantly ignited, his spirits surging. The worries that had long weighed on his mind could finally be put to rest, and he was filled with anticipation and hope for the future. With the Far Eastern Fleet's involvement, the project would be much easier to implement, and the chances of success would increase significantly. Leo Gago could almost see the winged US dollars flying toward his pocket, his eyes gleaming with greed. Immediately, Leo Gago eagerly picked up the phone on his desk and called Kavlovich, demanding he come to his office immediately. Ever since Kavlovich reported the Arctic route project, he had been in a state of restlessness, anxious, eager to hear the good news immediately. Now that Leo Gago had taken the initiative to call him, Kavlovich finally felt relieved. He knew that if his superiors disagreed with the Yan Kingdom's cooperation on the Arctic Passage project, Leo Gago would undoubtedly call him directly and reject the project directly. Now that he had even taken the initiative to invite him to their office, didn't that mean that their superiors were very satisfied with the Arctic Passage project? It had been successfully approved. At this thought, Kavlovich couldn't help but feel a surge of uncontrollable joy. He tried to suppress his excitement and remain calm and composed. Then he ordered his adjutant to prepare the vehicle and prepare to go to the office of his superior, Leo Gago. Although Kavlovich had occasionally invited Lin Chenran for drinks over the past 3 days and subtly tried to elicit information about the Arctic Passage project from him, since his superiors had not yet officially agreed to jointly develop the project, he had not been able to obtain much valuable information from Lin Chenran. At this moment, Kavlovich stood at the door of Leo Gago's office, took a deep breath, and gently knocked. Knock, knock, knock. A series of crisp knocks echoed, and Kavlovich waited quietly for a response. Soon, a familiar voice rang from within the office. Come in. Kavlovich's heart raced again at these words. The next moment would determine the direction of his future and the flow of plumes of greenbacks toward him. Kavlovich gently pushed the door open, stepped inside, and upon seeing Leo Gago, he gave him a solemn profound salute. General Gago, you wanted to see me? Kavlovich, sit here. Leo Gago saw this and immediately pulled Kavlovich to the sofa area, where he had his adjutant prepare a cup of strong coffee for them both. Leo Gago was now liking Kavlovich more and more. He always mentioned any benefits to him and let him take the lion's share. Who wouldn't love such a subordinate? After waiting for his adjutant to bring 2 cups of espresso, he walked out and closed the door. Leo Gago said with a smile, Kavlovich, the higher-ups have approved the Arctic route project you and Lin Chenran are working on. Although Kavlovich already knew the outcome, excitement still crossed his face. Really? Really? Leo Gago nodded repeatedly. Kavlovich clasped his hands together. That's great. General Gago, will our Far Eastern Fleet be one of the executors? This mattered over the distribution of the profits. If the Far Eastern Fleet were one of the executors of the Arctic route project, the operational flexibility would be enormous, and they could reap lucrative profits. Kavlovich, our Far Eastern Fleet is one of the executors of the Arctic route. Leo Gago announced the good news calmly, but the smile on his face betrayed him. That's great. Kavlovich became even more excited. Leo Gago would definitely not personally liaise with the Yan state. Then his chance would have arrived. Leo Gago then discussed this with Kavlovich, hoping to gain greater benefits from the Arctic route project. Is Yan country close to the Russian bear? Plotting a major event? Chapter 219. Yan country secretly discusses cooperation with Mao Zedong. The top leaders of the Eagle Source were instantly filled with jealousy. How could Yan Guo be so close to Russia? Hadn't the 2 countries previously been on an ever-ending leash? The Eagle Source replied, Yan Guo, you're so confused. Little did they know that the Eagle Source was the cause of this situation. Previously, Yan Guo and the Eagle Source were still in a honeymoon phase, and Yan Guo would satisfy Yan Guo's requests for weapons, equipment, production technology, and production lines. Knowing that Yan Guo didn't have much money to spend, the Eagle Source relaxed restrictions on Yan Guo. But with Yan Guo's reform and opening up, its economy began to develop rapidly, and its capital accumulated. The demand for technology and production lines from the Eagle Source increased. The Eagle Source clearly didn't want to give Yan Guo as much, leading to a rapid breakdown in relations. Furthermore, Yan Guo's defense capabilities and the endless supply of weaponry and equipment made the Eagle Source uneasy. The 2 countries, once in a honeymoon period, were drifting apart, sleeping in the same bed, but dreaming different dreams. Now that relations between Yan Guo and Russia have eased, the Eagle Source top leaders feel betrayed. So, the top leaders of the United States immediately mobilized the most elite intelligence personnel to find out what Yan country and Russia are planning. The United States is still afraid that Yan country and Russia will go together. This does not meet the needs of the United States. 2 superpowers with the same system going together will make it difficult for everyone in the United States. Russia alone is giving the United States a headache. If Yan country is added to the mix, it can be said to be adding insult to injury. At the same time, other countries also received news that Yan country secretly sent a negotiation team to Russia for secret talks. Intelligence personnel from various countries were also awakened and mobilized. Lin Chenran also received information from the country, asking him to reach an agreement as soon as possible, and intelligence personnel from various countries began to mobilize. In less than 3 days, the negotiation team temporarily formed by Russia arrived in Vladivostok and discussed matters concerning the Arctic route project with Leo Gago and Kavlovik. They also need to collect useful information. Don't fight an unprepared battle. After some discussion, the Russian negotiating team extracted the most crucial information. The Yan country's negotiating team is led by Lin Chenran, and he will be the one to make the final decision. Kavlovich also handed over the information he had about Lin Chenran to the other party, hoping that the other party could use it. The head of the Russian negotiating team, Amis, hopes that Kavlovich will join the negotiations. Because Kavlovich knows Lin Chenran best, and Kavlovich can act as a lubricant for this negotiation. Kavlovich and Leo Gago looked at each other and exchanged glances. They both felt that this proposal was necessary. As one of the executors of the Arctic Route project, the Far East Fleet still has someone on site to control it. Even if it harms the national interests, it cannot harm its own interests. Now they are extreme egoists, everything is for themselves. Kavlovich replied with a smile, Amis, thank you for your trust. I will definitely work hard to facilitate the transaction between the two parties. Deputy Commander Kavlovich, you are very polite. Afterwards, Kavlovich sent an invitation letter to Lin Chenran, inviting him and the Yan country Arctic Waterway negotiation group to attend the banquet. This banquet will be a prelude to the negotiations on the Arctic Waterway project. After receiving the invitation letter, Lin Chenran replied without hesitation, arrive on time, and extended the invitation to Situ Hua, who was standing next to him. He said with a smile, Mr. Hua, the next moment is the moment to show our strength and wisdom. But I think it is more like a test of our stomach. Lin Chenran added humorously. This sentence filled the entire office with laughter. Yes, this is indeed a big test for the stomach. Lin boy, we need to hold a mobilization meeting before the meeting to let everyone clearly understand the upcoming tasks and challenges. Situ Hua suggested. After a moment's thought, Lin Chenran agreed. Well, this is indeed a good idea. It will allow the negotiation team to be better prepared to deal with the next situation. So, he immediately arranged for someone to notify the employees of the 077 mechanical arsenal, asking them to gather the members of the negotiation team to the conference room as soon as possible to hold an emergency meeting. Time was running out, and soon, the members of the negotiation team rushed to the conference room one after another, and Lin Chenran and Situ Hua followed closely behind. As soon as they entered the conference room, everyone looked a little serious. After all, what they were about to face was a war without gunpowder smoke, and they needed to be fully prepared to deal with it. Looking at everyone's serious expressions, Lin Chenran smiled and joked, haha, everyone, don't be so nervous, relax. Although this is a war, it is just a war without gunpowder smoke. You just need to contribute your stomach. Hearing this, the originally solemn atmosphere eased a lot, and smiles appeared on everyone's faces. Even if we can't handle it, Mr. Hua and I won't blame anyone, because we've made 2 plans this time. We've prepared 2 wine gods to handle the Russians' toasts. Hahaha, with 2 wine gods, who can handle it? Yeah, even if the Russians' negotiation team had 3 heads and 6 arms, they couldn't outdrink our wine gods. The conference room was filled with laughter, and the atmosphere was relaxed and cheerful. Then, Lin Chenran raised his hand slightly, and said with a smile, ahaha, I consider myself a wine god. I think everyone's okay with that. His tone was confident and humorous, causing everyone to laugh out loud. He then continued, when I finish my drink, all of Vladivostok will belong to me. This statement caused a burst of laughter, and everyone was rolling in laughter. After the laughter, everyone's mood became relaxed and cheerful, and the previous tension instantly dissipated. Situ Hua, sitting nearby, looked at Lin Chenran with admiration, secretly sighing, this kid Lin is indeed extraordinary. The mobilization meeting resolved everyone's tension, and they were able to prepare wholeheartedly for the upcoming banquet. At the appointed time, Lin Chenran brought a group of negotiators to the pre-arranged location. At this time, Kavlovich and the members of the Russian negotiating delegation were waiting for Lin Chenran's arrival at the door. At the same time, intelligence personnel from various countries also received news that Yan country and Russia would hold a secret cooperation in this manner. However, due to the high level of protection, intelligence personnel from various countries were unable to obtain useful intelligence for a while. When Lin Chenran brought members of the Yan country temporary negotiation team to the door of the manor, intelligence personnel from various countries instantly recognized some members of the Yan country negotiation team. Especially Situ Hua. He was the easiest to recognize. Because Situ Hua was a diplomat of Yan country. What? Yan country sent Situ Hua to participate in this secret meeting? Intelligence personnel from various countries sent their intelligence one after another. Chapter 220. Dragon on my face. The advantage is mine. How can I lose? Situ Hua's appearance gave intelligence officials from various countries a premonition of trouble. He held a high position in Yan country, especially in the diplomatic sphere, and wielded considerable influence. The fact that Yan country had dispatched Situ Hua to personally participate in the negotiations with Russia clearly demonstrated the importance both sides attached to this cooperation. For a time, intelligence officials from various countries were baffled as to the specific details of the cooperation. So, let the domestic leaders handle the headaches. Consequently, they quickly reported the intelligence back home. Lin Chenran and his group arrived at the manor and were warmly welcomed by Kavlovich. Lin, you're very welcome, Kavlovich said with a broad smile. Kavlovich, you're very polite, Lin Chenran replied. After exchanging pleasantries, Lin Chenran and Kavlovich each introduced key members of their respective teams. After a brief introduction, Lin Chenran looked around and said with a smile, Kavlovich, it might not be safe to talk outside. Let's go inside the manor. Kavlovich thought for a moment and nodded in agreement. As the group entered the manor, they were stunned by the sight, barely able to believe their eyes. The entire manor was shrouded in resplendent decor, every detail showcasing the utmost luxury. Sparkling crystal chandeliers, intricately carved walls, and rich carpets made it feel like stepping into a fairytale palace. Lin Chenran and the others had never imagined that Russia would treat them with such high standards. They had initially held low expectations for this visit, but now they were forced to reassess the true face of the country. They had assumed Russia's economy was struggling, and its people's lives were difficult, but now it seemed that this impression was completely false. Poverty, it turned out, was only for the lower classes, while the upper classes could still enjoy the luxuries and pleasures of life. This was a shock to them. Kavlovich and other Russian officials noticed the surprised expressions on the faces of the members of the Yan State Temporary Negotiation Delegation, and felt a surge of pride. At this moment, Amis, standing nearby, gave Kavlovich a look. Kavlovich immediately understood and said to Lin Chenran with a smile, Lin, let's enjoy the food and drink some wine, to keep the chill away. He then added, the negotiations will officially begin tomorrow. Amis echoed, yes, Davary. Lin Chenran knew this was a Malbare tradition, so he wasn't surprised. Thank you, Davary. Then, turning to the members of the Yan nation's temporary negotiation team behind him, he smiled and said, everyone, relax and enjoy the food and wine. It's a rare opportunity to travel abroad, and the most important thing is to have fun. Lin Chenran had already told the team before he arrived at the banquet. The banquet ahead was all about eating and drinking. The main task was, get all the Malbares present drunk. After receiving Lin Chenran's instructions, the Yan nation's temporary negotiation team began to eat and drink, and the Malbare negotiators began to accompany them. A one-on-one drinking contest. Lin Chenran and Situ Hua were accompanied by Kavlovich and Amis. The two sides were like old friends. They drank vodka together. Amis, Kavlovich, thank you for your hospitality, it's really luxurious. Lin Chenran raised the vodka in his hand and clinked the bottle with the other party. Amis and Kavlovich looked at each other and followed suit, because they all knew that Lin Chenran was the person in charge of the Arctic Route project. As long as they could deal with the other party at the table, make the other party drunk and unable to attend tomorrow, or attend in a daze, then they could get greater benefits from the project. Although Kavlovich and Amis belonged to two interest groups in the Russian Bear, they must cooperate sincerely in the negotiation of the Arctic Route project to get greater benefits. The benefits obtained at that time will be divided internally. Kavlovich told Amis about Lin Chenran's alcohol tolerance. Amis was also shocked at first. He didn't expect that Lin Chenran and Kavlovich had never been drunk after drinking so much. 5 or 6 bottles of vodka were used as a base, but Lin Chenran was not allowed to drink. In response to this situation, Amis and Kavlovich deliberately found more officers and negotiators who could drink. They were bound to drink the members of the Yan state negotiation team brought by Lin Chenran down at the table. Amis smiled and waved his hand. Lin, you are our guests of honor. We must use the best things to entertain you. Come on. 1. Amis raised the vodka in his hand again to compete with Lin Chenran. Lin Chenran accepted everyone, clinked bottles with Amis and started drinking. Lin Chenran thought to himself, want to drink me down? It's a bit difficult. Situ who are on the side was shocked by such crazy drinking. Although Situ Hua knew that the Russian Bear was very ferocious when drinking, but it was not that bad. There was no usual elegance. All picked up the vodka bottle to drink, and the cup. It didn't exist. Although Situ Hua knew that he drank a lot, he was always blocked by Lin Chenran. Lin Chenran single-handedly challenged Kavlovich and Amis, downing several bottles of vodka before his face flushed slightly. That. He truly is the god of wine. He wasn't exaggerating. An hour into the banquet, both sides began to suffer from the drinking. An hour and a half into the banquet, only 3 members of the Yan state negotiating team remained: Lin Chenran, Situ Hua, and Lin Cheo. The others were all drunk. Meanwhile, the Russians still had 40 members. Mainly because the Russians had more people. Only 20 members of the Yan state negotiating team attended the banquet, while the Russians had 50 or 60. In terms of numbers, the Yan state negotiating team was at a disadvantage. Kavlovich and Amis exchanged a glance. Each smiled a different way. They thought to themselves, it's done. With Felang on my side and the advantage on my side, how could I possibly lose? There were only 2 remaining Yan state members who could drink. As for Situ Hua, he hadn't drunk much. As long as they could deal with Lin Chenran and the tall, thin young man, Situ Hua would be easily dealt with. Kavlovich and Amis immediately signaled to the remaining Russian personnel to take turns toasting the remaining members of the Yan state negotiation team. Lin Chenran and Lin Cheo remained calm and accepted all the toasts. They drank every toast, one after another. They didn't drink like they were raising fish, but rather gulped down big powerful gulps. 2 hours into the banquet, 10 more Russians had drunk themselves drunk. That. Kavlovich and Amis were both surprised. Whose general was this, so brave? Chapter 221 The advantage is yours? Lin Chenran, TSK. Little trash. Lin Chenran and Lin Cheo got 10 of the Russians drunk in half an hour. And they seemed fine, except for a trip to the restroom. This surprised Kavlovich and Amis. It aroused their desire to win. They asked the Russians to toast again, but this time they weren't just sipping, but drinking half a bottle at a time. Kavlovich and Amis couldn't believe that Lin Chenran and the others could drink so much. Cheers. Drink. Come on. Lin Chenran and Lin Cheo accepted everything and drank as much as they could. After 1 round, the Russians lost 5 more generals who were drunk, including Kavlovich and Amis. The Russians still had 17 people, while the Yan Kingdom had only 3 left. Although 15 people were lost, there were still 17 people. I had the advantage, so I kept going. Lin Chenran thought they were drinking too slowly. He winked at Lin Cheo, telling him to get moving. The Russians had made a move, so they had to respond. He signaled to Lin Cheo beside him with his eyes. The latter understood instantly. Holding a bottle of vodka in one hand, he stepped forward to return the toast. Situ Hua beside him had golden eyes. This is too strong. He is worthy of the title of God of Wine. Lin Chenran's performance surprised Situ Hua even more. Situ Hua originally thought that Lin Chenran was bragging about his alcohol tolerance. Unexpectedly, Lin Chenran's alcohol tolerance was really that strong. After a few rounds, only 5 people were left on the field. Lin Chenran, Lin Cheo, Situ Hua, Kavlovich and Amis. This, that, even a flying dragon riding on the face can lose. I had the advantage just now. How did the situation suddenly reverse? The most infuriating thing is that Lin Chenran and the tall and thin man were not in any trouble at all. Should we drink or not? Now there are only two of them. Then, a new round of drinking began. In the end, Kavlovich was the only one left on the Russian side. And there were still 3 people on the Yan country side. It's crazy. The god of wine who can drink 1,000 cups without getting drunk. This was high-proof vodka. Seeing that the task was completed, Lin Chenran smiled slightly and gave Kavlovich a way out. Kavlovich, thanks you for your invitation. Let's stop drinking here today. Kavlovich felt Lin Chenran's kindness and nodded repeatedly. That's right. Let's stop drinking here today. We still have to negotiate the Arctic route project tomorrow. Then, at Kavlovich's signal, the servants began to move the drunk people back to the room to rest. This manor covers a large area, with many spacious and comfortable rooms. Lin Chenran, Kavlovich and Situ went into a relatively small room and sat down together. Kavlovich immediately arranged for his men to make a cup of strong tea for everyone, hoping to eliminate the smell of alcohol. Lin Chenran sat on the sofa, looked at Kavlovich, and asked directly, Kavlovich, what kind of person is that Amis? It turned out that the two sides had been cooperating tacitly with the goal of gaining greater benefits for each other. The Far Eastern Fleet represented by Kavlovich and the forces behind it need to protect their own interests, while Lin Chenran's is for the benefit of Yan country and the 077 machinery arsenal. As for the interests of the Russians, sorry, that has nothing to do with them. When the forces behind Amis share in the profits of the Arctic route project, if one party reduces its share, the forces behind Kavlovich will reap even greater benefits. Such a win-win situation. Why not embrace it? Kavlovich took a sip of hot tea, subduing the alcohol in his system. Then he spoke slowly. He's also a profit seeker, but not as pure as we are. Kavlovich and his men have reached the point where they've abandoned the interests of the nation, focusing solely on their own personal gains. While Amis still adheres to a few principles, they are only a few. Not much. Lin Chenran smiled with satisfaction upon hearing this news. He greatly enjoys dealing with people who only care about their own interests, as they're easier to bribe. As long as they're not staunch patriots, everything will be easy. Kavlovich, I understand you want to pursue your own interests, but this requires a certain degree of compromise, Lin Chenran said slowly. Kavlovich nodded in understanding. No problem. This time, just get Amis and the others drunk. You'll have an easier time securing greater benefits at the negotiating table. Kavlovich agreed. Lin Chenran's lips curled up slightly, a confident smile on his face. I'm very much looking forward to tomorrow's negotiations. With that, he and Situ stood up, preparing to leave. Kavlovich then picked up the phone on the desk and called Leo Gago. Leo Gago's deep magnetic voice came from the other end. Hello. Kavlovich took a deep breath and said calmly, everything is fine. Okay, Leo Gago replied succinctly. Then, decisively, he hung up. Kavlovich put down the phone, a strange sense of nervousness welling up in his heart. If this Arctic route project were a success, it would be another major achievement for Kavlovich. There are merits to be gained, and there are also US dollars to be gained. For Kavlovich, there are only benefits and no harm. Lin Chenran and Situ each returned to their own rooms. Although Lin Chenran has the ability to drink 1,000 cups without getting drunk, he still needs to conserve his energy to cope with the upcoming negotiations. Time passed quickly, the night faded, and dawn came. The sun shone on the earth. Lin Chenran slowly opened his eyes and rubbed his temples. He felt very thirsty, and at the same time, his head was a little dizzy and painful. This was mainly due to excessive drinking last night. Although he did not get drunk last night, the after effects of alcohol were hard to resist. After a simple wash, Lin Chenran walked out of the room and was accompanied by his servants to the small restaurant in the manor for breakfast. At the same time, Situ and Lin Cheo also arrived at the small restaurant. They picked up a breakfast and walked over to sit next to Lin Chenran. You two are well deserved to be called the god of wine. Situ gave a thumbs up and praised him generously. Originally, the Yan kingdom was at a disadvantage at the wine table. There were only 3 people left, and he himself was old and could not provide much help. There were still more than 30 people left on the Russian side. As a result, with the cooperation of Lin Chenran and Lin Chao, all the Russians were drunk, and only Kavlovich was left. And Kavlovich was half one of them. Lin Chao scratched his head shyly. He was seldom praised by his superiors before. This time, he was praised by Situ Hua in a prominent way, and he was at a loss. Lin Chenran replied without any modesty, "Mr. Hua, I said long ago that I'm the god of wine. After drinking, the whole sea is mine." Lin Chenran's words made the two of them laugh. Chapter 222, Yan State firmly holds the initiative, and intelligence personnel from various countries are frustrated. Although Kavlovich was awake, he didn't go to the dining room for breakfast. He wanted to create the illusion that the Yan Nation negotiating team had defeated the Mao Nation negotiating team over drinks the previous night. In the afternoon, the Mao Nation negotiating team and members of the Yan Nation negotiating team gradually arrived at the dining room for lunch. The Mao Nation negotiating team, led by Amis, looked at the Yan Nation negotiating team with a look of shame. They had the advantage in numbers yesterday, but they were drunkenly drunk by the Yan Nation negotiating team at the table. How humiliating. Even more humiliating was the fact that over 30 people had battled 3 people, and they were all drunkenly drunk, while the Yan Nation negotiators, Lin Chenran, Situ Hua, and Lin Chao, had actually woken up early in the morning and come to the dining room for breakfast. How humiliating. Being completely defeated at the table, Amis's expression darkened. In an instant, he felt that the upcoming negotiations would not go smoothly. Losing to the Yan Nation mainly at the table, it would be difficult to gain the initiative at the negotiating table. Amis sighed inwardly. "Oh, I thought it was safe, but I didn't expect such a complete loss. It was originally a Feilong style situation, with the advantage in my hands. But I was still too young." At the dinner table, Yan Jiuo had the upper hand. During the afternoon negotiations, the Russians were consistently at a disadvantage. Yan Jiuo was in the advantage. Kavlovich acted as a lubricant between the two sides. Although the arguments between the two negotiators were heated, they remained within reasonable limits. Meanwhile, outside the manor, intelligence personnel from various countries were frantically busy, like ants on a hot pan. Due to the Russians' strict security measures, they were unable to enter the manor to obtain any useful information. The intelligence liaison officers from various countries were even more anxious, running around like headless flies. Accountability from various countries was pouring in, putting them under tremendous pressure. The repair of relations between Yan Jiuo and Russia had caused sleepless nights for senior leaders in many countries. Just as the intelligence personnel from various countries were racking their brains and trying to gather intelligence, Yan Jiuo and Russia suddenly announced a major news. This news came like a bolt from the blue, leaving intelligence personnel from various countries feeling that their efforts had been in vain. They felt like a group of clowns being made fun of, filled with immense frustration and loss. After 3 long and intense days of negotiations, the Arctic Route project was finally successfully negotiated, with the interests of all parties properly distributed. This outcome satisfied everyone, as each faction had reaped considerable benefits from this collaboration. Amis, Kavlovich, happy cooperation. Lin Chenran extended his hand enthusiastically to shake their hands after signing the contract. Happy cooperation. Kavlovich and Amis' faces beamed with bright smiles. They were filled with confidence in this collaboration. Kavlovich and Amis could already see the green, winged US dollars flying into their pockets. Next, we will hold a grand press conference to announce our joint Arctic Route project to the world. Lin Chenran joked. Those intelligence personnel from various countries out there certainly didn't expect the collaboration we were discussing was actually about the Arctic Route. His words drew laughter from the conference room, and everyone expressed their agreement. "I've noticed they haven't stopped these past few days," someone chimed in, and everyone burst into laughter again. Intelligence personnel from various countries have been very active these past few days, constantly collecting and analyzing various information, but they could never have imagined that the final cooperative project would be the Arctic Route. A direct backstab now. They'll soon become the mouthpiece for all countries, letting them know that Yan country and Russia are developing the Arctic Route project. This will be very beneficial to the Arctic Route project. Intelligence personnel from various countries received news that Yan country and Russia would hold a press conference in a day to explain their cooperation to the world. Suddenly, a storm arose, attracting the attention of various countries. Eagle source intelligence personnel. What? A press conference? Russia, you look so strange to me. John country intelligence personnel. What kind of cooperation is it that requires a joint press conference? But my identity is very suitable. Then he showed his press card. An intelligence officer from Chicken Kingdom stated, could Russia's conspiracy with Yan Kingdom be a weapons and equipment deal? Could it be the sale of warships? It better not be, otherwise we'll be under tremendous pressure. An intelligence officer from Han Kingdom stated, damn it, Smector. Why won't Russia fall? Their formidable military capabilities are making us uneasy. An intelligence officer from White Elephant Kingdom stated, Russia's closeness to Yan Kingdom is affecting our cooperation with Russia. No, we must report this to the Chinese government and have them warn Russia not to fall into Yan Kingdom's trap. Intelligence officers from various countries mobilized to participate in the upcoming press conference between Yan Kingdom and Russia. Time flew by, and in the blink of an eye, journalists from various countries flocked to Vladivostok. The press conference for the Arctic Route project was led by Situhua and Amis, and attended by several members of the negotiation team. The question then arose, why was Lin Chenran nowhere to be seen? The reason was simple, Situhua's international reputation far surpassed Lin Chenran's. And to let outsiders know just how seriously Yan Nation is taking the Arctic Passage project. This arrangement not only demonstrates Yan Nation's high regard for the project, but also serves to protect Lin Chenran. After all the reporters from around the world arrived, Situhua and Amis entered the venue. When the reporters saw Situhua, they were all stunned. Situhua's reputation was well known, needless to say, and reporters from all over the world had heard of him. Who would have thought that Situhua would personally attend the press conference on Yan Nation's cooperation with Russia? Since Yan Nation holds the lead in the Arctic Passage project, then, Situhua smiled and introduced the crowd. Yan Nation has decided to jointly develop the Arctic Passage with Russia. Maintaining year-round access to the Arctic Passage will open a new shipping route for the world, contributing to the economic development of countries around the world. As Situhua finished speaking, everyone at the press conference gasped. They hadn't expected Yan Nation to cooperate with Russia on the Arctic Passage. If the Arctic route could be unimpeded year-round, it would impact the entire global economy. Large cargo ships from all over the world would have a brand new route to choose from, eliminating the long detour to the Cape of Good Hope or waiting in the Suez Canal to cross. Situhua then announced to everyone how the Arctic route would be operated, giving everyone a clearer understanding. He made it clear that Yango's cooperation with Russia in developing the Arctic route project was no mere talk. Chapter 223 Mission completed. Cooperation reached. Returning to China. As soon as the press conference for the Arctic Passage project concluded, top leaders from various countries quickly received the news. Yango and Russia's close relationship turned out to be a secret plot to jointly develop the Arctic Passage. This news shocked and surprised everyone. What does jointly developing the Arctic Passage mean? A vital waterway, accessible year-round, comparable to the Suez Canal. If the Arctic Passage project succeeds, it will bring enormous benefits to both Yango and Russia. For Yango, this waterway will give its economy a boost. Yango's large cargo ships will also enjoy a 10% discount when passing through the Arctic Passage, which will undoubtedly further promote trade. For Russia, participating in the Arctic Passage project will provide a steady stream of financial support, thereby alleviating domestic unrest. For other countries, especially the United States, this is undeniably bad news. Their competitors are gradually recovering. The previous suppression may be reversed in the Arctic Passage project. Everything previously done may be in vain. How can this be possible? The top leaders of the United States quickly convened a meeting to discuss how to respond to China and Russia's joint development of the Arctic shipping route. Other countries were similarly skeptical. The countries encompassing the Suez Canal scoffed at China's cooperation with Russia on the Arctic shipping route project. Comparable to the Suez Canal. Dream on. They'd said the same thing about the Cape of Good Hope project before. The result? It wasn't even half the size of the Suez Canal. They doubted China and Russia's joint development of the Arctic shipping route would have the same effect. The Arctic shipping route is not only thick with ice, but also with intense blizzards. Ships entering it can't find their way around. Therefore, the countries encompassing the Suez Canal weren't panicking at all. Want to become the lifeline of the new shipping route? Eat more kohlrabi. Dreams are possible. China and Russia's announcement of a joint development of the Arctic shipping route plunged intelligence personnel from various countries into deep self-doubt. Is that it? Are they kidding me? A group of elite intelligence personnel had been lurking for so long for the Arctic shipping route project. Alas. Miscalculation. An old horse stumbled. Intelligence personnel from various countries were about to depart or remain in hiding. Unexpectedly, high-ranking officials issued new directives, demanding they investigate whether and Russia were only collaborating on the Arctic route project and had no further cooperation. Damn it. Intelligence personnel from various countries were already internally fretting, but they had to obey their superiors' orders. Now, they were dealing with agents of Russia's KGB within Russian territory. The danger was greatly increased. Russia's KGB was known as one of the 4 major intelligence organizations in the world. After signing the joint development projects for the Arctic route, Lin Chenran and others secretly returned to their home countries one after another. This cooperation between and Russia in the development of the Arctic route has touched a nerve with certain countries. Some countries find it difficult to vent their anger. The opening of the Arctic route will undoubtedly benefit the global economy, especially by increasing cooperation across the Eurasian continent. Some countries are powerless to stop it. The interests involved in this Arctic route are enormous, and they dare not intervene personally. Another point, is it useful to stop it? This is a cooperation between 2 major countries, especially the Russian bear, although the domestic economy is in recession and turmoil, but in terms of military capabilities, it is also a first-class existence. When the Russian bear moves, the world trembles. Lin Chenran, who returned to Yan country, was just thinking of going back to Linjiang province directly, but was stopped. Mr. Lin, please don't leave in a hurry. We have received an order and need you to go back to the imperial capital first. Lin Chenran frowned, but still sighed helplessly. Oh, okay, I know. There is no way, since he received the notice, he can only go back to the imperial capital. After a few days of travel, Lin Chenran finally returned to his home in the imperial capital. Just stepped into the house. Before he had time to breathe, he was stopped by Yi. Lin Chenran, the old man asked you to go directly to his study when you come back. Lin Chenran looked puzzled, but nodded. Okay, I'll be right there. On the way to the study, Lin Chenran asked Yi curiously. Brother Yi, what does Grandpa want to talk to me about? Yi shook his head, indicating that he didn't know the specifics. I don't know either, but besides Grandpa, there seem to be several other chiefs and leaders in the study. Hearing this news, Lin Chenran couldn't help but feel a little uneasy. With this feeling, Lin Chenran arrived at the study door. He knocked gently, a crisp sound echoing. Knock knock knock. Soon, a familiar and majestic voice echoed from the study. Come in. It was Grandpa Lin's voice, full of energy. Lin Chenran took a deep breath, then gently pushed open the door and walked into the study. When he saw the scene inside, he was stunned. Several solemn-looking elders sat in the study, their eyes fixed on Lin Chenran. What is going on? A joint trial by the 6 courts? Lin Chenran muttered to himself. A Navy Master Zhang stood up enthusiastically and grabbed Lin Chenran, who wanted to run away. Are you trying to run away? Want to run away? Lin Chenran repeatedly rejected it. How could that be? Then he greeted all the leaders present with a serious face. Hello, leaders. Boss Lin, sit here. A senior military official of Yan State asked Lin Chenran to sit down. Boss, I'd better stand. Lin Chenran thought to himself, can I sit down here? At this time, the big leader spoke and said kindly, come, Ziana Lin, sit here with me. Lin Chenran looked at Master Lin on the side, his eyes sending out a distress signal. Save me, and Master Lin said solemnly, sit down. Lin Chenran sighed in his heart. It's too difficult. Then he strode over and sat down. Zio Lin, I saw the telegram Zio who was sent back. You had a good trip this time. It played a crucial role in our country's economic development. The opening of the Arctic route has not only boosted the domestic economy, but also promoted cooperation between countries. Excellent. Before you returned, several neighboring countries had already sent telegrams asking if there were any possibilities for cooperation. The Arctic route is of great significance to Yan country. Not only has it boosted the economy, but it has also mended relations with Russia. Tensions between the two sides have eased, and both sides have begun discussing reducing military presence on their borders. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 224 Slander. They are slandering me. There are simply too many troops stationed on the border on both sides. So many troops require a lot of military funding, which puts enormous pressure on the finances of both countries. Now that relations between the two countries have gradually eased, reducing troops has become an important topic on the negotiating table for both sides. Both sides hope to reduce military spending by reducing troop deployment on the border, which will also help improve bilateral relations. After hearing this, Lin Chenran raised the corners of his mouth slightly, revealing a calm and humble smile. He attributed all the credit to the leaders and others, and said calmly, "This is the result of the wise and brave command of the leaders and the hard work of Mr. Hua and others. I just did my part." Then, he smiled and added, "The success of this Arctic route project will also benefit our 077 mechanical arsenal." This sentence was like a stone thrown into a calm lake, which immediately caused a burst of laughter from the leaders in the study. The senior leader smiled with satisfaction, his eyes gleaming with approval as he praised, "You're quite a clever fellow. Some people said you were as cunning as a fox, but I didn't quite believe it. Now it seems true." Lin Chenran grumbled softly, "That's all slander and defamation. Is that what I call cunning?" His expression seemed aggrieved, as if he'd been wrongly accused. "Slander? He's slandering me. He's slandering me. If the Arctic Passage project succeeds, many parties will benefit. Because of the Arctic Passage project, we've become quite close to Russia, and the warnings from the Eagle source against us have been increasingly clear lately," a Yan state official said, his brow furrowed. His tone was filled with worry, as if he foresaw a difficult future. "Controls on key technologies and equipment are becoming increasingly stringent," another official added, his eyes revealing helplessness and anxiety. "That honeymoon phase you mentioned might be coming to an end." The first official sighed heavily, his words like a bombshell, causing a moment of silence in the conference room. Upon hearing this, Lin Chenran's face turned serious. He frowned tightly, thought for a moment, and immediately asked back, "If we don't get closer to Russia, will the Americans relax the transfer of our technology and equipment?" This is no longer the early stage of the honeymoon. During the honeymoon, although the control of various technologies and equipment seemed very loose on the surface, in fact, when it comes to key technologies, the Americans have always controlled them strictly, making it impossible for Yan country to obtain them. Now, when the relationship between Yan country and Russia eases a little, the Americans immediately take action. This undoubtedly brings them a greater challenge. Faced with such a situation, Lin Chenran believes that he cannot retreat. As the domestic economy develops more and more rapidly, the targeting of our country by other countries will become more and more obvious. Only by strengthening our military strength can other countries truly respect our country. Lin Chenran's expression is serious, and his tone is firm and powerful. His words are full of confidence and determination, which makes people feel a strong sense of trust. Regarding hostile forces, Lin Chenran always adhered to a principle: strike the first blow to prevent 100. One must dare to face challenges and take decisive action to safeguard national interests and dignity. One must periodically demonstrate national strength, flexing one's muscles. This can have a certain deterrent effect, preventing other countries from easily provoking. Lin, how is the Y-10 large aircraft project at your 077 machinery and military factory going? Air Force leader Lin Hu asked calmly. It was he and Elder Way who recommended the Y-10 large aircraft project to the 077 machinery and military factory, letting the domestically produced large aircraft project go to the 077 machinery and military factory. The big money sponsor, McDonnell Douglas, the American company, came clean. The previous cooperation was all a sham. They had never intended to provide the relevant technology. The factory they built in Yan country was only used to assemble large aircraft for domestic needs. No other technology was brought over. Shanghai had been directly tricked by McDonnell Douglas. There was nothing they could do now. The contract was signed. It was not Shanghai's turn to go back on its word. Mr. Lin, the Y-10 aircraft is quite impressive. When I return to the 077 machinery and military factory, it should be ready for production. From now on, I can travel on my own plane, Lin Chenran said proudly, smiling. He then continued, when we visit abroad, we can also board our own large aircraft. The Y-10 aircraft can be ready for production. A high-ranking Yanji military official was thrilled. Great. Flying on a large aircraft manufactured in our own country will guarantee safety, the Yanji official said slowly. This is truly excellent news. It can be used not only as a passenger aircraft, but also for military purposes, as an airborne early warning and control aircraft. The Yanji Air Force has long desired an airborne early warning aircraft. They previously supported Shanghai's cooperation with the eagle-like McDonnell Douglas Corporation, hoping to obtain the necessary advanced technology and develop an airborne early warning aircraft. Unexpectedly, McDonnell Douglas played a trick on them, completely ignoring any further cooperation and simply establishing an armed plant in Shanghai. As for the technology, they directly used assembly technology as technology to fool the Yan state officials. Those who had previously emphasized that R&D was not as good as purchasing have now become turtles who hide their heads in fear. Reality has taught them a hard lesson. If they can purchase the core technology they want, a higher cost is not a big deal. But after spending so much, they cooperated with others and ended up being tricked by them. Their own projects were halted, and in the end, the other party did not provide them with the technology. They are just borrowing chickens to lay eggs, making a fortune out of nothing, and trying to defraud you of your huge market. Lin boy, since the Y-10 aircraft is about to roll off the production line, what about the airborne early warning aircraft project? Old man Lin, who attaches great importance to the development progress of the airborne early warning aircraft. Although the Yan State Air Force has hunting suits for third-generation fighters, the hunting suits for other aircraft are still lacking. Upon hearing this, Lin Chenran smiled bitterly. Mr. Lin, how can an airborne early warning aircraft be that simple? The Y-10 aircraft has just completed various tests and is confirmed to be ready for production. The Y-10 airborne early warning aircraft is under development. I believe there will be good news in less than 3 months. The Y-10 airborne early warning aircraft has undergone various modifications based on the Y-10, and its progress will be much faster. Although the performance of the Y-10 airborne early warning aircraft is not top-notch, it can still provide a support for the Yan Kingdom Air Force. Its performance is still in the first echelon. Chapter 225. 3 months later, there will be new progress on the Y-10 airborne early warning aircraft. According to Lin Chenran's prediction, the Y-10 airborne early warning aircraft is in the first echelon internationally. It will be used by the top military officials of the Yan Kingdom first. After the Y-10 large aircraft series comes out, a world-class airborne early warning aircraft will be redesigned and developed. 3 months is not a long time, and the Yan Kingdom Air Force can wait. Now the Yan Kingdom Air Force can only rely on the 077 machinery and military factory if it wants an airborne early warning aircraft. There are no large aircraft projects in the country. The only thing left is the Y-10 large aircraft project in the hands of the 077 machinery and military factory. Foreign cooperation is also impossible, as they were previously tricked by the American McDonnell Douglas Corporation. Jointly developing new projects has become a hurdle that the top leaders of the Yan Kingdom cannot avoid. Once bitten by a snake, they are afraid of the rope for 10 years. Now the top leaders of the Yan Kingdom would rather give funds to domestic institutions for research and development than jump into other people's traps. Joint design and development is a huge trap. Lin, who smiled slightly. Lin boy, our Air Force is waiting for your good news. Airborne early warning aircraft are urgent. Other countries have them, but our Yan State Air Force does not have them. In terms of air supremacy, we have always been at a disadvantage. Although the airborne early warning aircraft was born relatively late, its importance is becoming more and more important. There are also aircraft carrier formations that need the assistance of airborne early warning aircraft. Lin Chenran waved his hand gently and said very naturally, "Old Lin, don't worry, the Yan 10 airborne early warning aircraft project is progressing steadily and there will be results in 3 months." At this time, Old Wei was eager to try and asked, "Lin boy, your 077 mechanical arsenal previously sold fuel air explosives to the Saudi kingdom in the Camel area. The other party recently tested one in its desert area. It will directly deter the surrounding countries. It is very powerful, even more powerful than the fuel air explosives dropped by the Eagle Source on the Monkey Kingdom before. Comparison of the power of one. The power of fuel air explosives was known to all the leaders present. A long time ago, the Eagle Source's heavy fuel air explosives caused the Monkey Kingdom to suffer. And now, Saudi Arabia in the Camel region has tested a heavy fuel air explosive bomb, directly deterring neighboring nations. We previously tested a small fuel air explosive bomb at the 077 mechanical arsenal test site. It was incredibly powerful, which is why Saudi Arabia in the Camel region is purchasing our fuel air explosive bombs and related technologies. Fuel air explosive bombs are truly unique these days. They are touted as radiation-free nuclear bombs. Imagine how powerful they are. Lin Chenran didn't see any fear in the Yan nation leaders' eyes. Commanders, while fuel air explosive bombs are incredibly powerful, they also have their drawbacks. They are unable to reach enemies underground. Lin Chenran had previously discussed this with the Yan nation's military brass. That was before. Now is now. The fact that Saudi Arabia tested a heavy fuel air explosive bomb in the Camel region has made the Yan nation's military leaders envious. "We don't even have fuel air explosive bombs, but Saudi Arabia has them," they said. "It's a bit unbalanced." Chiefs, if you need it, our 077 mechanical arsenal can also produce it. Lin Chenran called out to everyone with anticipation on their faces. As long as the Yan state military was willing, they could purchase a batch of fuel air explosives from the 077 mechanical arsenal. What's the price? Don't try to fool us with the price in the Camel region, Saudi Arabia. Elder Wei asked directly. The Yan state military couldn't afford a fuel air explosive at $3 million apiece. Lin Chenran scratched his head helplessly and said calmly, "Will I cut you off if I do business with your military? Don't worry. Factory price." Elder Wei, who was standing by, was delighted to hear this. If the senior leaders weren't present today, Lin Chenran would definitely not sell fuel air explosives to the Yan state military at the factory price. Buying now is a good deal. After a long journey, Lin Chenran finally returned to Linjiang province from the imperial capital. He didn't waste a single minute reviewing the recent events at the 077 mechanical arsenal. After finishing his review, he immediately convened a meeting of the top management of the 077 mechanical arsenal. Soon, the entire group of executives from the 077 mechanical arsenal arrived at the conference room. Each of them wore a serious expression, yet a determined glint gleamed in their eyes. As the last person entered the conference room and took their seats, Lin Chenran coughed softly, signaling that the meeting could officially begin. Lin Chenran smiled, his gaze gently sweeping across everyone's face, his tone filled with relief and gratitude. "Thank you all for your close cooperation and full support in handling all matters at the factory while I was away in Russia. It is because of your tacit understanding and unity that our factory has been able to maintain efficient operation during this period, and I'm extremely proud of that." Hearing this, Song Zian led the applause, and the others joined in. The applause was thunderous, echoing throughout the conference room. "Everyone, please briefly report on the various tasks you are currently working on so that I can understand." Lin Chenran had just returned from Russia and only had a general understanding of the situation from the documents. Now, he needed the top management of the 077 mechanical arsenal to provide a brief explanation. As the second in command of the 077 mechanical arsenal, Song Zian was the first to introduce the general affairs of the factory. Then, the senior executives of each 077 mechanical arsenal took turns to introduce their work. The meeting lasted for 3 hours. Lin Chenran had a general understanding of the progress of various projects of the 077 mechanical arsenal. Time passed quickly, and after 3 days, Lin Chenran finally figured it out. Next, he was busy again. The design and development of the frigates and cruisers of the Yan Kingdom Navy. Although most of the design and development were handed over to the design and development engineers of the 704 shipyard. As the actual controller of the 704 shipyard, he also needed to inquire about it. The design and development plan had to compete with other domestic shipyards. Although the 704 shipyard is now receiving orders continuously, it is an unparalleled honor to be able to participate in the development of warships for the National Navy. What? Are you going on a business trip again? You're not going abroad again. Song Xian had just sat down when he heard the news that Lin Chenran was going on a business trip. He was very surprised. The National Navy is preparing to build new cruisers and frigates, and the 704 shipyard has also participated in the bidding conference, so I want to go over and see what's going on. Previously, the Yan state military sold a batch of medium-range ballistic missiles to Saudi Arabia in the Camel region and obtained huge funds. The Yan state navy also obtained a sum of money from it. Originally, he wanted to build an aircraft carrier, but he was persuaded by Lin Chenran's emotional and rational approach. Since it is not the time to build an aircraft carrier, the funds cannot be kept. For this purpose, the Yan state navy directly built several cruisers and frigates to enrich the navy sequence. Now, except for the Aegis missile destroyers that belong to the first echelon of warships, the other warships of the Yan state navy, they are all outdated. There is no deterrent power at all. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.